I just...
Now or never.
Well,
I liked your stuff this morning, Rama.
Yeah.
About Carlton eating their own. They do it better than anyone else.
They're just... They don't need to. Unity at a football club is so important. And I said this on the lead at midday. Your field reflects your on-field. Okay, so there's just... I don't know. I don't get it at clubs sometimes, and I know, Berkey, you've lived it a lot, unfortunately, at the Saints. But unity and strength and togetherness is so important factors. It's no fluke. The teams at the top of the ladder, they show consistent behaviours. They show consistent behaviours as football clubs, and they don't sweat the small things.
Luke Sayers has spoken at the President's function tonight, saying don't be distracted by the outside noise. We're a united board. So did you tip, Berkey?
Bulldogs.
Bulldogs.
No doggies.
It's inside noise sometimes there at Carlton. I think the doggies as well.
I'm looking forward to seeing Bontempelli against Cripps.
Oh, yes.
If they're not
Hopefully
lining up
head-to-head.
alongside each other, I'm going to be disappointed.
It's what Rama asked for on the lead again today as well.
Absolutely. So if that's the game you're looking for, that'll be on your radio next. If not, the Brisbane Lions and Essendon is taking place from the Gabba. Just look for the ABC Listen app and click on the AFL Extra button. Melbourne winners by 54 points. 15-13, 103 to the Hawks, 7-7-49 in front of 39,818 fans. The Demons for tonight jump to the top of the AFL ladder. We bid you farewell from the MCG. We're off to Docklands. Enjoy your night.
Your fortune awaits. Please sit down. You desire connection to your community, to be abreast of events and up to date at all times. In your future, I see the ABC Listen app. I see you up to date with current affairs, politics, and the latest conversations on your local ABC radio station. Your reading is complete. Put that filthy money away. The ABC Listen app is as free as a bird. Now go and download the ABC Listen app.
ABC Sport.
This is ABC Sports coverage of the 2023 AFL Premiership season.
Footy's biggest weekly stage, Friday night footy.
Footy's back, Cal.
Oh, footy's back, baby. Pulls the trigger on goal and goes bang.
Here it comes. AFL. On ABC Radio, ABC Sport Digital, and now streaming on the ABC Listen app. Look for the AFL button.
Something big is coming, I know.
Carlton Chief Executive Brian Cork said it's not the end of the world if Carlton don't play finals this year. It's fair to say that their fans probably disagree. They've been waiting a decade and they are restless with the Blues having lost 3 of their last 4. They're back again tonight, filling up Docklands Stadium against the Western Bulldogs, who are quietly going about their business and have worked their way back into the season. It is Carlton and the Bulldogs, a blockbuster on Saturday night. It also doubles up as Cripps versus Bontempelli, which has been such a selling point since these two guys, both out of the 2013 draft class, have matched up against one another. The matchup this year is very much the Brownlow medalist up against the guy with the unofficial tag as the best player in the competition at present. Huge night at Docklands. Both teams inside the 8 at present. It feels like one of them may not be there by the end of the weekend. There's no late change. Ed Curnow and Lockie McNeil are the 2 subs for the respective teams. A third-generation VFL-AFL footballer, James O'Donnell, is going to make his debut for the Dogs tonight. My name's Corbin Middlemass. Jess Webster's calling the footy with me. Good evening, Jess.
G'day, Corby. Can't wait for this one. It's all set up for a really incredible battle tonight. A packed house as well. It's just going to be an incredible atmosphere. And Carlton, will they answer their critics tonight against an informed Dogs? I can't wait to find out.
It's got game of the round vibe, so we've got a couple of premiership players with us here tonight to talk you through it on Grandstand AFL. First of all, Collingwood Premiership player, former St Kilda captain, Luke Ball. G'day, Bally.
G'day, Corby.
Happy Saturday night.
Happy Saturday night. Yeah, no, great to be here. Beautiful autumn day, wasn't it, in Melbourne? Watched a bit of local footy. It was a cracking day for footy, the sort of game, although I won't mention it with the man to my left, but the sort of day that even 10 years on, you wouldn't mind pulling the boots on today or tonight, Corb. But fascinating, isn't it? We're just chatting off air, not sure who to tip, not sure who I've sort of landed on in terms of who I fancy tonight. You know, both sides. We know, we've not been speaking about Carlton this week, hasn't there? But even the Dogs have sort of taken a while to find their best footy, and it augurs well for a great contest tonight. Looking forward to it.
A man who's played more games in VFL-AFL footy than anyone else in history, Brent Harvey, is with us tonight, nursing his badly broken leg, but made your way in, Boomer, and ready to go.
Yes.
Great to have you with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Absolutely. Looking forward to tonight, Bally. Good crowd. Do that with your fingers. It usually means a good crowd.
It's
and
big,
we've got a good crowd.
Yeah, level 3, so they've turned up again, the fans.
It's looking good. But I'm actually interested tonight. The midfield for me is always the battle. And I look, and these two teams are very good midfield, but also can be a little bit inconsistent. So Liberatore is a huge key for the Western Bulldogs tonight. We know that Bontempelli is one of the best players in the competition, but Liberatore, for me, holds the key to the Bulldogs' success through the midfield. And then you look at all the stars in the Carlton midfield. So for me, whoever gets on top of the midfield tonight, give themselves a better chance of kicking a winning score.
The Dogs would absolutely love this. It feels like their whole season in a nutshell, where the focus tonight is so much on Carlton. They're just going about their work, banking wins. They've won 5 of their last 6 games, and of course I'm going to focus on Carlton just to keep with that thread. I heard Gary Lyon say earlier in the week that if you look at the Blues, they've got their Hawkins and Cameron. Well, they got on the wrong way around. Instead of having Mackay as the bear in the square, they've got him as the centre-half forward roaming up, hitting the wings, and they've got Curnow as the stay-at-home forward. Do you subscribe to that notion that they need to flip him and they need Mackay deeper and Curnow getting up and back?
Well, from the outside, yeah, it does seem, albeit they're both terrific athletes, Boomer, aren't they? So I get the temptation. Look, perhaps they can both take their turn, but if for mine, Curnow does play his best footy when he's got the freedom to get up the ground a bit. And again, I think, and we've seen that even, say, with Joe Danaher at Brisbane last week, being a stay-at-home key forward, maybe Tom Hawkins is the exception, but it's almost a dying, it's rare these days, isn't it? And depending on, and you're very much dependent on how the ball's coming down to you. Carlton will speak about that throughout the night, I'm sure. Carlton have had some real issues in terms of how they've moved the ball and transitioned the ball in particular from their back half to their forward half. I mean, they conceded, Boomer, 85 points from turnover last week. That's a horrendous number.
Huge.
So they're winning the ball okay, and even their coach spoke about it after the game. Their contest numbers were good. Their tackling was pretty good. Their pressure was good. It was a really finals-like game last week. The one thing that's really letting them down, it's stark. It's clear as day, and it's made clearer because they've got those focal points ahead of the ball. And everyone says, what are you doing? Get it down there. Yeah. These guys are dangerous. They're Coleman medal winners. Get it into them. So I think all that discussion about who plays where and who should be higher, a lot of that can be fixed by how they actually move the ball
it's
up
funny.
the ground.
Carlton's strength can also be their weakness for me. So I look at Curnow, who's an aerobic beast. Right, he gets a player, he takes him up the ground, he beats him back, and he hits the scoreboard. A little bit similar to what we used to do to your ex-skipper, Bally, with Nick Riewoldt. He was so good, and we couldn't play just one player on him. So we used to say, listen, when he goes up, Nathan Grimer, just hold your ground. Let him have some ball on the wing because he's not hitting the scoreboard where he's most effective. So that strength can also be a little bit of a weakness.
And I reckon
as well.
Liam Jones will definitely do that tonight. He's not going to try and make it a running race. He'll hold his ground and he'll intercept as well.
Andrew Mays is with us in the front row on the boundary. Good evening, Maisie.
Evening, Corbin. Beautiful conditions under the roof as always, and the turf's come up pretty well. They had a little bit of a game on before, showcasing some of the best young talent in the competition, but lovely conditions out there. There's a touch of nervousness, I reckon, amongst the fans as they were coming in this evening. The Blues not knowing what to expect from their team. I'm interested in the big guys at either end. Charlie Curnow, 12 goals across his last 2 games against the Dogs. Aaron Norton averages less than a goal a game against the Blues, which is his worst of any side. So another fascinating matchup at either end of the ground.
So many great threads. Patrick Cripps winning the toss, pointing to the locket end where the Blues are kicking in this opening term after shaking hands with Bontempelli. It's Cripps v the Bont. It's Carlton versus the Bulldogs on a Saturday night blockbuster in round 9 on Grandstand AFL. You're with Jess Webster.
Pitternet taking on English in the ruck, palms it down. Liberatore immediately tackled by Chera, and we'll have a secondary ball up inside the centre circles. Packed crowd tonight under the roof. Match of the round. English wins the tap, but he's given away the free kick. So Pitternet to take the free kick for the Blues and send them forward. Quick to hand pass off to Doherty from the centre square. It's a wobbly kick inside 50, and Bontempelli takes the accepting mark for the Dogs.
Well, first opportunity to go forward, and there's a great example. Just rushed it, Sam. I mean, and here's one who usually makes good decisions, but really poor inside 50 entry, unforced error.
Bont straight down the pipe to Doc Duray, who nice defensive side of the centre circles. Kicks the Western Bulldogs out wide to that City wing as Williams gets there on the bounce. Hand pass away to McRae, hand pass along the line to Jamara, but knocked out a play by McGovern. So the boundary throw in on the wing. Interesting at the centre bounce, it was Bailey Smith standing next to Cripps and Matt Kennedy standing next to the Bont, so we didn't quite get Bont Cripps one-on-one.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on it. It does look like Kennedy's trying to get to Bontempelli here at this boundary throw-in as well.
Umpire flicks the ball back into play. English with front position, palms it down and then lays a tackle against Chera, who got the hand pass out to McGovern, and now Doherty shares it with Cripps. It goes backwards to Kennedy from right half back, sends it long down the line. The big fist came from McRae. Hollins was taken high by Jones. He gets the free kick on centre wing, City side, and kicks Carlton up to half forward. A beautiful lead from Mackay. The kick just had a little bit too much on it. Mackay was nudged underneath the ball. Free kick at right half forward. He can send the Blues inside the arc again.
Ryan Gardner gone to Charlie Curnow as well. Keith on the bench. Maybe look as a double team.
So Mackay between wing and half forward. He's just going to lay it up to the hot spot. They come from all directions, but they're all in Bulldogs jumpers. It's flying up Gardner, no clean mark, spills down to Bailey Smith, bangs it out of the defensive arc, straight to Sard, middle of Docklands. There's the wolf cries as he kicks into the pocket for Motlop, and Richards knocks it out of play and a boundary throw in. Interestingly, when I said the two dogs collided, it was Gardner into Duray, and Duray gets up holding the lower part of his right leg. Boundary throw in forward pocket for the Blues.
Great spoil, Ed Richards. Great to see him back behind the ball. He's having a career best year, I think, with him and Johannisen back in their natural positions. It's been one of the big reasons behind the Dogs' turnaround this year.
Ball spins back into play. Pitnet palms it down to Motlop. Got around one. Shoots towards goal. It's off the side of the boot. It won't have the distance or the accuracy. And Jones, playing against his former side for the first time tonight, takes the mark in the left back pocket.
Was he getting booed?
To Baker, who chips short to Dale. He chips it further afield to Williams, who's marked centre wing, City side.
Wouldn't read about it, Bully. He's got booed. Unbelievable, isn't it?
Hand passes to Bailey Smith, who sends a long ball towards half forward. I think that was a push against Young. He took the mark anyway.
The Dogs fans remember that he used to play for the Bulldogs.
There's Louis Young. He goes back to centre half back for Newman as he collects on the bounce, steps his way around lob. He's going to head out wide with a kick or a one-on-one. McRae and Durden. McRae knocks it out of bounds. And a throw in high half forward for the Dogs. Another game tonight, Essendon and the Brisbane Lions. They're about 5 minutes ahead of us up at the Gabba. The Dons kick the first goal. They lead at 1-1-7 over the Brisbane Lions, who are yet to score, so 10 minutes into the opening term. And full time at the G, it was Melbourne by 9 goals over Hawthorn.
No score here as yet at Docklands. Early stages, first turn from the throw-in. Williams couldn't get boot to ball. Is picked up by Cripps. Spun in a tackle. Ball spills loose. Picked up by Smith of the Dogs, who hands it to McRae, who tumbles a kick inside forward 50 to a pack, and taking the mark and reading it best is Newman, who kicks towards Akers at full-back and ships over the head of Doherty. He's turned it over as Johannisen takes the mark, sliding in on his knees. He's 48 from home, 45-degree angle to the right.
Real poor by Akers there. Doherty worked so hard and gave him an outlet. And he just missed that kick. He's overkicked it by 5 or 6 metres.
He was getting the Bronx cheer last week, Blake Akers, in the final quarter against the Lions, and that's not a great start for him.
Look, he's not a bad kick over his career anyway, but sometimes it can happen and then becomes a bit self-fulfilling. You get the yips.
Johannisen from outside 50 has absolutely flushed it.
Bang.
And gets the opening goal under the roof here at Docklands. The Western Bulldogs 1 straight 6, leading the Blues, yet to score. 5 minutes played opening term on Grandstand AFL. Your experts are Luke Ball and Brent Harvey.
Corbin, it was interesting. You mentioned Bailey Smith going to Patrick Cripps at the first centre bounce, and he went to him at the stoppage there. It's going to be an interesting night for that board because Cripps will beat him inside, so big, but Bailey Smith will get him really well on the outside. So something that the Bulldogs might try to exploit. Patrick Cripps. Let him have the ball inside, but let's get him on the outside.
I saw some numbers during the week. Didn't attend a single centre bounce last week, Bailey Smith, and still had 32 against the Giants. He's riding there tonight early.
Yeah, Treloar goes out, so the opportunity comes in. I mean, it's interesting, Jack McRae, multiple All-Australians starting across half forward. So, I mean, they'll rotate heavily through there tonight, I'm sure, and really try and outrun the Blues. Bigger bodies through the middle of the ground.
Dogs for the first goal through Johannisen back in the middle. Palm down by Pitternet, straight to Kennedy. Hand pass to Cripps. Kicks to centre half forward and Silvani marks. That's a clean break for the Blues, and Silvani can kick from 52 out. It's true centre half forward.
Crying out for that third option, aren't they? In front of goal, the Blues. And Jack Silvani, he's got all the traits to be just that. He's got such a great work rate. Good pair of hands. He's kicked multiple goals a few times this year, so see if he can get off to a good start here tonight.
8 goals, 6 on the season. He leans out to the right and he gives it a hell of a whack. He's got the trip, but he's offline. Misses out to the left. Carlton's first score after 6 minutes. They're 1 behind. The Bulldogs are 1 straight. Saturday night footy at Dockland, 6 minutes in.
Johannesson kicks it into English, who hand passes back to Johannesson. A short pass just the required distance to Daniel. Johannesson kept running, receives the hands and then kicks out to left half back. Dale marks. Quick to play on. It's a scrubby kick towards Richards on the wing. He collects, gets around Hollins and then kicks up towards half forward. Williams marks just outside 50 and pokes it into the pocket where he finds Aaron Norton, 35 metres out from goal, close to the boundary. End-to-end footy from the Dogs.
Yeah, just speed on the ball, wasn't it, Boomer? I don't know whether it was a drawn-up set play, but that's what I mentioned. Johannesson back behind the ball, to me, just such a better player when he's got the ground in front of him like that. And he's kicking the ball beautifully as well. And as you said, not a great sign from a defensive point of view. The Carlton players were almost witcher sets there. That was a training drill, wasn't it? From kick out to a shot at goal.
End to end.
Averaging just over 2 goals a game. Aaron Norton almost threads the needle from the pocket, slams it into the right post for a minor. The Dogs 1-1-7, Carlton 1 behind, 7 played, opening term Grandstand AFL.
I've seen enough in the first 7 minutes, Paulie, to know that the Western Bulldogs are exactly doing what you said, and that's running Carlton off their feet. Caleb Daniel starting at half forward. You don't see that very often. And the boys behind the ball running the ball at him.
Dogs by a goal. Sard goes long to half-back, spills off the pack to Owies. He's knocked off it, spills to Charlie Curnow. Hand pass to Akers, to Walsh, to Chera. Now handball away to Kennedy, gives it back to Chera. Still on the back flank. Short kick finds Walsh. Skids onto his knees, takes the mark. Still at half-back. Bulldogs by a goal. 7.5 minutes in. No late change at Docklands. Ed Curnow and McNeil, the 2 subs. He goes long down the line and Mackay works in front of Jones to take the mark for Carlton. And Harry Mackay right in front of the Blues bench as the Dogs get numbers back in their defensive 50. Mackay again just going to sit it up towards Charlie Curnow on the ruckman in Pitternet. Keith knocks it away for the Bulldogs. Johannesson shoots a hand pass inboard, went straight to Cottrell. Surge kick inside 50. They're horribly outnumbered, Carlton, and Richards takes the intercept mark for the Dogs.
Hand passes off to Keith, who's all alone in the pocket. Chips it forward to Smith. Still inside defensive 50. He chips it out to Williams, who's marked at left half back. He hand passes off to Richards on the outer wing. Will bomb it long in the Ugle-Hagen direction, and that's a lovely contested mark against Newman. He's got it 2 kicks from goal.
Lob's got the outnumber here. Oh, sorry.
Ugle-Hagen heads into the pocket. It's a great mark taken by Cottrell on the last line defence and swings it out wide to Owies.
Not the outnumber, it was the mismatch is the word I was looking for. He had Blake Akers deep, but the ball wasn't able to get to him.
Owies to half-back from Mackay. Heavy collision from Jones. Ball comes out. Johannesson tackled. Mackay with the follow-up, so competed in the air and then on the defensive effort runs down Johannesson and win possession back. A free kick Carlton to the holding the ball call. Goes short to Doggett. Dangerous kick to centre half-back. Finds Cottrell. So they pull the trigger inboard, and now Cottrell's going to swing it across the half-back line, laterally to Wiedering. He plays on, has a bounce. Hardy Jones comes to close him down, so Wiedering just goes long to half-forward, and Bailey Williams takes the intercept mark. Half-back for the Bulldogs.
Kicks it backwards to Richards inside defensive 50. Swings it across the face of goal to Baker, who's marked in the opposing pocket. Advances, then kicks towards Waitman on the wing, who has to beat a couple of Blues. It's off hands. Akers picks it up. He's dispossessed. Sard picks it up. Jams it on the boot towards half forward. And that's great work from Keith English, rather. Wins the footy, gives it to Baker, who bangs it long. O'Donnell, the first gamer in a contest against Young. It's off hands. You've got Hagen laying a tackle. The Blues have possession through Young. Now Cottrell and off to Chincotta, who's run down and tackled by Liberatore. Umpire says, I'll have it. Ball up just inside the centre square.
Try again, Wally.
Well, young O'Donnell, first opportunity. I think it was my first game call.
Up it goes. Daniel for the Bulldogs. Hand pass to Dale. Kicks to the top of the goal square. Norton the target. Slips past him and Wiedering. His direct opponent tries to clear. Fingertips on it from Williams. No mark. Falls down to Holland to the Blues. So Carlton get it back along the half-back line. Doherty hand pass to Newman. Kicks down the wing and Cottrell marks. City wing for Carlton. Their home game. So all in the navy blue with the white monogram. The Dogs, the road team, so they got the white shorts on, all in blue with the red and white hoop around the middle. A short kick down the wing finds George Hewitt. So Carlton again in a slow play. A 6-point lead for the Bulldogs, 11 minutes in. He goes long to a contest at high half forward. No mark. Cripps knocks it on. Dogs win it back. Gardner. Hand pass to Bailey Smith off the back flank.
Kicks into the centre of Docklands and hits Ugle-Hagan on a lead. A pretty open forward 50, but not a lot for Ugle-Hagan to kick to. Measures a pass beautifully to Norton, who marks 40 out from goal.
He's got Wiedering, he can't play a metre off tonight. He's too good, Norton. He leads at the ball, but he's so good aerial as well. If he gives him that 1 metre, he's so quick off the mark. He's just going to take marks on the... And they're going to lower their eyes as well. You can see that already.
Great example of the difference in ball use too. The Dogs there transitioning through the corridor. They brought it in and didn't go out wide again. Get a shot at goal.
Right on the paint of 50, Aaron Norton sends it through the big sticks. 2 in a row to the Dogs. 2-1-13 leading the Blues, 1 behind. 12 minutes played opening term on Grandstand AFL.
Yeah, the difference between that and the piece of play before that where Doherty brought the ball back inside to Cottrell, and instead of facing the game and looking at the whole ground up ahead of him, he turned blind and kicked it out wide again, and it forced a turnover or a stoppage on the wing. You'd just love to see him face it and keep going through the corridor. Once that brave kick's been made and affected, and you saw Smith then take the ball through the corridor. Beautiful kick to Ugle-Hagan. He didn't go wide. He had the opportunity to go wide again, but he turned and kept the ball going through the corridor, and they had so much space, didn't they, for the ball.
The problem with Carlton, if they don't go quick, Tim English is getting right back. So every time they look up, they've got an outnumber by 1, and it's Tim English, the tallest bloke on the ground. So they're slowing it down. They've got to go quick, the Blues, to get through the Bulldogs' defence. 19
minutes in at the Gabba, 1-1-7 apiece between the Dons and the Lions. It's the Bulldogs by 12 points here with the first 2 goals. Back in the middle, Silvani at the coalface. Hand pass out to Hewitt. Handball to the wing, finds Walsh. He kicks to half forward. Mackay leads up, carries over his head, close to the boundary line. Richards keeps it alive for the Dogs. Back flank, hand pass away to Dale. Sends it inside by hand to Daniel. Short kick looking for Artie Jones. Chincotta knocks it away from him. Smith under pressure. Shoots a hand pass to English. The Dogs work it out again. Dale to Artie Jones. Hand pass to Richards against the boundary line city side. Long kick in the Norton direction. Floating across Louis Young. Takes the intercept mark for Carlton at half back. Bulldogs with the first 2 goals. They lead it by that margin 13 minutes in.
Well, this is the challenge for them here. So they take the intercept mark across half-back, but there's no shape, is there? There's no looking inside into the corridor. Straight back down the line, intercept mark.
And that intercept mark taken by Richards. Chips it short to McRae, who's marked right on the logo outer wing.
Started well, Ed Richards, up to 7 possessions.
McRae hand passes backwards to Daniel, who kicks it backwards to Richards. Another disposal coming up for Ed. This time, chips it inside the corridor and finds Keith, defensive side of the centre circles, and he takes off from the bullseye, bombs it long. Norton will come at it and take the mark. Had his name written all over it. Aaron Norton marks directly in front, 35 out from goal.
You're spot on, Jess. He didn't look like dropping that, did he? The timing of this guy is phenomenal. He's such a good player, one-on-one, but he can jump at the ball as well. Great call.
So Norton, as Andrew Mays told us pre-game, averages less than a goal against the Blues, whose lowest return against any side. This for number 2 in the first quarter, and he hits the post.
That's the second
poster of Norton for tonight. And the Bulldogs' lead extends to 13, 2-2-14 to the Blues, 1 behind, 15 played opening term.
4 goals, 6 in 6 matches previously against Carlton. He's kicked 1 goal, 2 and 2 posters to start the game, as Boomer outlined. 15 minutes in. Dogs by 13. Doherty marks the kick out centre half back, goes long to the wing. Mackay competes, spills down to Walsh. He kicks inside the forward arc for Carlton. Gardner gets across, punches it away to Baker. Tackled by Cottrell, somehow got a kick out to lob. Hand pass to Richards under pressure. Volleyball spikes it forward to McRae. Off the back flank, hand pass away to Giray. Links up with Dale. Closed down, still on the back flank. 45 kick back inboard. A little too much on it. Spills through to Hewitt of the Blues. Hand pass to Kennedy. Hand pass to Walsh. Hurried kick under pressure. It's a high up and under. Silvani at the drop. No mark, but he's taken high in the air. And a free kick for Carlton. Still inside the centre square. Dogs by 13 after 15 minutes.
This is the kick. This is the most important kick in football, going inside 50. If he just bombs it, lobs back there now.
Sends it into the pocket in the Durden direction, knocked away from him by Gardner. Throw in 40 around from the Blues goal. So Dogs lead by 13. They've kicked the only 2 goals of this opening term.
And 8 inside 50s to 6 Carlton's way. So they've gone in 2 more times. Still looking for their first goal and just the 1 score.
A chance here from the throw-in. Lob palms it down. Durden chasing after it close to the line. Can't keep it in. We'll do it all again this time. 50 out from the Blues goal.
Well, this game's just getting played on the Bulldogs' terms at the minute. Carlton are going to have to do something to arm wrestle the game back on their terms and try to hit the scoreboard very, very shortly.
Time on first quarter up at the Gabba. Brisbane by a point, so low scoring affair there. 1-2 to 1-1. Boundary throw in here, and Lob is held in the wrestle at the boundary throw in. It's against Silvani. Free kick for the Dogs. 2-2 to 1 behind. Bulldogs lead it after 17 minutes. Lob goes along with a contest on the wing. Wiedering flies, no marks, spills down to Wiedemann, shoots a hand pass forward, running onto it. Waitman rather, sorry, shoots a hand pass forward to Artie Jones. Misses him, slides out of play, and a boundary throw in here. A high half forward for the Bulldogs. 0437 774 774, the SMS number if you want to get in touch with us tonight. Corbin Middlemass and Jess Webster, Andrew Mays on the boundary, Luke Ball and Brent Harvey, your grandstand AFL call team.
Throwing it half forward for the Dogs. Sharked by Silvani. Kicks a high up and under towards the wing. Gardner with the spoil. Chera collects. He's pushed over the line for a boundary throw in centre wing out of side.
Yeah, you mentioned the Dogs' terms, and you mentioned Ryan Gardner too, Boomer. At the moment, so Keith has the matchup on Curnow. Jones is just staying at home, so whoever's deeper. And Gardner's playing as that third tall. He's matched up on Owies, but clearly he's there to come across and support in the air.
Dogs by 13 from the wing. Kennedy with the clearance, tumbles it towards half forward. Mackay can't keep it alive. Out of play, throw in 50 around from the Blues goal. It is the Dogs by 13. 18 played opening term on Grandstand AFL.
Just looking at the stats really quickly, I think we haven't called Bontempelli's name very often. He's only had the 1 touch.
Just saw the big screen too, just flashing up. He's been on the pine for the last couple of minutes. He's still there at the moment from the boundary throw in. Bailey Smith hooks a kick up to the wing. Comes down to Baker of the Bulldogs. Hand pass away towards Liberatore. Kicks into centre square. Chincotta spoils to the advantage of Chera. Carlton win it back. Hand pass to Akers. Handball away to Newman. Kicks from right in the middle of Dockland Stadium to Mackay. But Lob standing in front of the pack with all the elephants coming behind him. And manages to hang on to it for the Bulldogs. Courageous mark at centre half back. Immediately swings it out to Dale, and he kicks up to the wing for Williams. Marks defensive side of halfway.
Bullets a pass down the line. It's a good one. Finds Scott, who's marked right in front of the interchange benches. Bontempelli comes back onto the ground and heads forward. Scott, meanwhile, sends it in the Waitman direction at half forward. This came from McGovern, and it's out of play. Let's get downstairs to Andrew Mays.
Yeah, there was a number of players stuck on the interchange with play over that far side. Another one, Pitnet for Carlton, and also Patrick Cripps still stuck on the bench. He's been there for about 7 or 8 minutes, I reckon.
Thanks, Maisie. 13 points. Bulldogs lead, 19 on opening term. Brisbane lead Essendon by 7. First quarter action up at the Gabba. Boundary throw in. Silvani took it out of the right court. Hand pass went to Bontempelli under pressure. Shoots a handball to Jamara. He's tackled, dispossessed. Ball spills out of bounds. Says spin it in.
From what we've seen over the course of the season, that's dropping the ball. He had his hands free, put it up in the air to try to break the tackle. Ball spilled out without getting the correct disposal.
Full time at the MCG, a 9-goal win for Melbourne, so 54 points over Hawthorn in Stephen May's 200th. The twilight slot for the boundary throw-in. Pitternet palms it down again. Hand pass from Walsh out wide to Kennedy, overruns it. Libba goes back, wins it for the Bulldogs. Hand pass away to Bontempelli, feeds it to English on the junction of the boundary in the 50, kicks to the behind line. Jamara's there, Wiedering knocks it out of play on the spoil, and a boundary throw-in alongside the behind post for the Bulldogs.
Sorry, Gord, tail of the first quarter, fumble there. Just disposal efficiency, Carlton 65%, the Dogs are 84%. So lack of pressure from the Blues, but also the Dogs really sharp, particularly by foot.
Dogs by 13, time on opening quarter. Throwing in the pocket for the Dogs. Lob palms it down, Newman head over it, gets the hand pass out to Kennedy, kick smothered, it ricochets to Cottrell. Kick out of congestion, falls into the lap of Durden. And Carlton could breathe a sigh of relief as Durden chips shot to Silvani, who's marked at left half back.
Their first instinct, Carlton, is to go to the boundary. That's what we've seen in the first 20 minutes of football. The switch now, but the first instinct is always to go boundary.
Such a frustrating style to watch, I'm sure, with those weapons up front for Carlton fans. The switch on here as Silvani To Newman, to Wiedering, and now out to that outer wing for Young. He moves it forward by hand to McGovern. The long kick here, down to half forward, but it's too wide. Flirting with the boundary line, too wide, out of bounds on the full. And the Dogs will get it back. Giray at half back. It's a 13-point lead. Now the Bulldogs are 2-2, but they're 2 goals and 2 posters. Both off the boot of Aaron Norton, who's also kicked a goal. Carlton 1 behind. They've travelled 21.5 minutes in the opening term. Giray goes long to a contest on the wing. There's young O'Donnell on debut. Got a hand pass out. Went meant for Baker. Slips through his hands and it's out of play. So a throw in on the wing. It's James O'Donnell, the 20-year-old who signed a contract 35 days before he was picked.
Extraordinary.
Pre-season selection. Grandson of Kevin, son of Simon. Who both played VFL footy for St Kilda. And of course his old man. A little bit of test cricket as well.
Pretty shallow throw in. Pitnet palms it down. Cripps can't keep it alive. So we'll do it all again on the outer side. Carlton have won 1 of their past 4. Bulldogs are on a 3-game winning streak. It's a must win for the Blues. Ball spins back into play. This time Pitnet with a big thump down to Hollins, who collects. Snaps it into the arc, and Mackay takes the mark. 40 out from goal, pretty much directly in front.
He's going to snap this, isn't he?
He is lining up for it. He would be at a 5-degree angle to the right, maybe. He's pretty much directly in front.
They can't. He's actually a great kick like this, but if they miss, it looks silly.
So Harry Mackay from 45 with the snap, and he has absolutely made a meal of that. It just sneaks in for a behind. So the Dogs 2-2-14, Carlton 2 behinds, 22 played opening term Grandson AFL.
It amazes me. It amazes me, Bull, that they can go back and do that. And it just, it looks silly when it doesn't come off.
Johannesson brings it into Liberatore, got it on the half volley, gives it back to Johannesson, hand pass to Liberatore, blazes out of the defensive arc. Baker goes up to contend in the air, but it drifts over the line. It's out on the full. And Hollins will get the free for the Baggers. Chance to put Carlton back inside 50. If you thought Carlton were playing a little tight and a little tense, that may be somewhat of an insight on the back of that shot from Harry Mackay. Never looked like he was going to kick that from 35 out right in the corridor. And from the inside 50, a pack forms over the top of Mackay, right forward pocket for the Blues. A ball up.
English against Pitternet. Liberatore emerges with it, sends it to the outer side. Lob reaches up, knocked away from him by McGovern, and it's out of play for a throw-in again on that outer side. We've seen a lot of footy out there in this opening quarter, just defensive side of the wing. So Bulldogs up by 12 points. 24 played now in this opening term. Goals to Johannesson and Aaron Norton. Blues yet to find a major. Back into play. Pitternet palms it down. McRae chasing after it for the Dogs. Has a fumble. Cripps is there for the Blues. Daniel laying a tackle on Chera. Locks the ball up. 50 out from the Blues goal.
Quarter time at the Gabba. Brisbane Lions 2-2-14. Essendon 1-3-9. Low scoring opening term. Brisbane by 5. Up it goes. Half forward for the Blues. Pitternet wins it down to Doherty. He's tackled out of play. The ump says, I'll have it. Another stoppage. Bulldogs by 12. Time on in the first here. In fact, it never went out. He was just tackled right on the line. So the umpire chucks it up. Southern boundary line. Half back for the Bulldogs. Bontempelli tries to squeeze a kick forward. It's smothered by Doherty. Throw a blanket over 10 players here. Still at half forward for Carlton. Eventually comes out to Kennedy. Squeezes a kick in the pocket. Silvani juggled effort. Third attempt. Paid. A mark for Silvani. And he's got it against the boundary line. 30 metres out, right forward pocket.
Good effort, wasn't it? Just to keep the ball in front of him and keep concentrating under pretty close checking from Alex Keith. Never took his eye off the ball, Jack Silvani. Or Taylor Giray possibly certainly mounted the case that he got his hand on it, but I don't mind them paying that, Boomer.
It's a mark.
Little sneaky clearance for Kennedy through a bunch of bodies too to get the ball forward. Can Silvani finish off his work for Carlton's first of the night? He misses near side. So the Blues have a couple of behinds. The Bulldogs have a couple of goals. They're 2-2. In fact, it's a 3 behinds for Carlton now on the back of that miss for Silvani. So Dogs by 11 points, 26 minutes into the opening term.
There's not a lot of clean ball for Carlton going in, is it? Even Silvani had to make something happen there, whereas the Bulldogs, they look like it's a little bit easier.
Spot on. The 3 scores have come from clearances, and it's a familiar tale. It's their main method of scoring at the moment. It's not sustainable.
Johannesson kicks to the wing. English marks. Pops it over the top to Williams, who's marked in front of the interchange benches. He's looking for a target up ahead. He has Lobb and Ugle-Hagan. He heads in that direction. It's a big pack. Norton attempted to fly from the side. It's off hands. McGovern has a fumble. Lobb now picks it up. Tackled by McGovern. Umpire says, I'll have it. Ball up at right half forward for the Western Bulldogs. Lead by 11. 26 played. Opening term on Grandstand AFL.
English reaching over the top, wins the head out. Chincotta there for the Blues though. Hand pass to Doherty, hooks a kick down the wing. Mackay competes in the air, ball gets away from him and slips out of play. Boundary throw in right in front of the Blues bench. No late change here tonight. Ed Curnow to sub for Carlton, and for the Western Bulldogs it's Lockie McNeil. 2 goals to zip. Big crowd in Saturday night footy. Carlton home game. A little frustrating so far for Blues fans. From the throw in, English down to Daniel. Hurried kick forward, almost hits his coach. Luke Beveridge, who's running the boundary line just before quarter time, and the ball drifts past him out of bounds on the full. So free kick for Carlton, defensive side of the wing. Dogs by 11 points as we tick towards quarter time.
Saad thumps it long. The fist came from Jones. At ground level is Cripps. Can't shake the Liberatore tackle. Takes him out of play. And we'll have a throw in.
He's a tough little bugger. He tackles, but he keeps them down.
Yeah.
You know, you see players pull the other player up by the jumper. Liver's never done that in his life, and he never will. He actually puts all his weight on him to get off. I love it.
Third tackle for the night for Liberatore. Ball in wing position, dockside. Pinnet straight down to Chera. His kick partially smothered. As a pack forms around this, Liberatore wins the footy, gives it to Williams, now to McRae, and then off to Johannesson, has a bounce. Defensive side of the wing, sends it long to a contest. Bontempelli in the pack. Ugle-Hagan at the front, it spills to Young of the Blues. Hand passes to Doherty, gives it to Kennedy, hand pass to Chera. From centre half back, bullets a pass down the corridor and hits Charlie Curnow. Has a player alone at half forward in Mackay. He marks 2 kicks from goal. Dogs are getting numbers back. And the Blues fans aren't happy because he's held the ball up and now unsure where to go. So he bombs it inside the arc. Jones couldn't complete the mark out the back. Williams. The siren ends the opening quarter, which sees Carlton goalless. It is the Western Bulldogs 2-2-14 leading the Blues 3 behind. The goals for the Dogs coming through Jason Johannesson and Aaron Norton.
Oh, there's a bit in that. I'm keen to hear from Luke Ball and Brent Harvey in just a moment. Unfortunately for Carlton fans, the ball movement didn't look a whole lot different. 3 scores, as Bally pointed out, all from clearance for Carlton in that first term. They'd kicked 5 first quarter goals in the last 2 weeks, despite the fact they've been up and down on the win-loss column. They're goalless in the opening term here, just the 3 behinds. The Bulldogs at the other end, as Jess said, with a couple of goals, so they lead it by 11 points at quarter time. Off the SMS, Rob in Montmorency, what is Acres' kicking efficiency on 2023? Seems to land 1 pass per week at best. Poor kicking is Carlton's main problem, and he'd have to be the number 1 offender. Can't put him near the back line with this effort, so Rob's not happy with Blake Acres. He's in his scope. And Andy and Wodonga, for me, the most frustrating thing in football is players missing relatively easy goals from set shots. Boomer, what's the reason? Is it because players run so hard and only get 30 seconds to take a kick?
Yes, yeah. I believe they do enough set shots at training, but you don't train under fatigue like you do in a game. That's the biggest thing for me. You can't repeat, especially during the season. Maybe pre-season a little bit, yes, but the training now is about recovery, and your main session goes for 45 minutes, and you're just not in game mode. You're training at a 60% level. You get to a game, you've just ran as hard as you possibly can, and you're just fatigued. That's what I think goal kicking's come down to. Gone are the days, Gary Ablett, Tony Lockett, Jason Dunster. They don't work super hard. They'll bears in the square. They mark the ball 35 out. Lots of energy to go back and kick the goal.
You could write a whole essay, I'm sure, on all the different reasons as to why goal kicking is what it is and hasn't significantly improved over the years, but appreciate your contribution. Off the SMS, Andy, the number is 0437 774 774. The thoughts of Boomer and Bally in just a moment at quarter time here at Docklands. It is the Bulldogs by 11 points. This is Grandstand AFL.
I grew up on one of the last intact wild places left on the planet.
Discover the wonder of Ningaloo through the eyes of celebrated Australian author Tim Winton.
Its custodians call it Ningaloo.
Ningaloo.
This is the story of a World Heritage treasure. It's one of those living miracles that keeps hope alive.
Ningaloo.
Ningaloo.
Starts Tuesday, May 16 on ABC TV and streaming on ABC iView.
Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Johannesson from outside 50 has absolutely flushed it. Hits Ugle-Hagan on a lead. Pretty open forward 50, but not a lot for Ugle-Hagan to kick to. Measures a pass beautifully to Norton, who marks 40 out from goal. Right on the paint of 50, Aaron Norton sends it through the big sticks.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
Short and sweet, those highlights. Just the 2 goals in the opening term. Low scoring both games Saturday night of round 9. Here it's the Bulldogs by 11 points, 2-2 over Carlton 3-3. Meanwhile, up at the Gabba, they're about 5 minutes in front of us, just about to start the second term. The Brisbane Lions 2-2 over Essendon 1-3, so a 5-point lead for the Brisbane Lions at the Gabba. If you want to listen to that game, you can do so through the ABC Listen app, bottom right-hand corner, search AFL, and on the AFL Extra button, you can hear full play-by-play commentary of the match between the Lions and the Bombers. Our focus is on what's happening here at Docklands, though. Luke Ball and Brent Harvey on Grandstand AFL. Quarter time at Docklands, the Bulldogs by 11.
Well, more of the same, really. We'll talk about the Blues first and foremost, Boomer, from last week. So when you look at the numbers, contest pretty good, plus 12, winning clearances, so winning plenty of ball, disposal efficiency 68%. They had 15 inside 50s to 7. They've only been able to muster 4 shots at goal from those 15 inside 50s. We mentioned
7. Western Bulldogs have had 7 inside 50s. Carlton had 15.
Shots. Yeah. So Carlton,
wow.
That's what I mean. So Carlton, general play, winning the ball around clearance, we know that. Winning the contested footy, which we know they do so well. Again, just that ability to move the ball with any sort of predictability, fluency, speed, from transition into an open forward line is just they're just bereft of that at the moment, and it's reflected in the 4 shots at goal. So
we said that last one there, Bully, where Curnow switches play to Mackay.
Yep, looks up.
Now the whole crowd's going, go, go, go. He looks up, but the Western Bulldogs have worked so much harder than the Carlton forwards. They've got prime position on him, plus the ruckman's getting back, so the slower he goes, he kicks in, they're outnumbered by 1 or 2, usually by 2 because they're getting an outnumber, plus the ruckman's getting there as well. But the crowd are saying go, but it's a chicken and egg. He can't go because there's nothing to kick
go to. And it's a great point, Boomer. And I was yelling at Charlie Curnow, who kicked it to Harry Mackay. Sometimes as a forward and a key forward, and we know he can do this, sometimes even if it's to a 3-on-1, you've got to put your head down and work back hard. He decided to hang around across half forward and try and get the short one. So Charlie, you've got to get down, you've got to go, you've got to charge forward and at least give Harry something to kick long to. And in the end, he held it up. And as you said, by that stage, 5, 6, 7 Bulldogs players that got back. And that's going to be the story of the night. They're going to keep doing that, and they're going to keep frustrating these Carlton midfielders unless they find a way to move the ball more methodically and with more speed and more directly towards goal. We mentioned a couple of times there, we saw, good kicks inside. Doherty pulled the trigger inside, great inside 45 kick. Cottrell, instead of facing the goals, went wide again. And that gives the Bulldogs hard workers, their hard runners, a chance to get back behind the ball. And Team English is the best ruckman in the comp at doing that.
Their first instinct, Bully, that quarter, and I don't know if that's the way Carlton normally play, but they went boundary side, and when they looked long down the line, you got Tim English down there just sitting there going, go on, kick it, because I'm going to mark it.
2 of their last 3 quarters now, they haven't kicked a goal, the Blues. They start with a goalless term tonight. It's the Dogs by 11 points. Second quarter underway as Pitternet wins the hit out. Down towards Chara, he's tackled, taken to ground. A ball up again in the middle of the ground. Andrew Mays on the boundary.
We know Bevo loves to swing the magnets around. Rory Lobb starting this quarter on a wing.
Yeah, that's
his old teammate too, and Blake Acres.
It's a little different. Out of the middle, Hewitt, hand pass went to Bontempelli, kick smothered by Cripps. Ball spills to Johannesson, though, the Bulldogs. Hand pass to Dale, he kicks wide, and Baker marks. City wing here at Docklands, Bulldogs by 11.
Baker kicks it towards half forward, looking for Scott, but that's a great contested grab taken by Sard. Chips it over the top, Chera marks. Defensive side of the wing out of side. Bulldogs by 11 at quarter time. Blues yet to find a major.
Well, you know what Rory Lobb's going to be doing as a defensive wingman here too, Boomer, with this slow ball movement. You know where he's going to be?
He's going straight back to mark the ball beyond the
Sherritt chips to Doherty, who chips to Newman inside the centre square. Still haven't gotten it past halfway. So Newman takes off now. He bombs it long to a contest at half forward. English, was he pushed out? The umpire said no, play on. They scrap for it inside forward 50. Motlop emerges with it, gets boot to ball, tumbles it towards Mackay, collects wonderfully. Hand passes to Cripps. The right man for the job has missed. A fourth behind to the Blues. They trail the Dogs 2-2-14. Dogs lead by 10. A minute played, second term.
Missed an obvious one there. English pushing the back by Pitney. Didn't touch the ball either, the big ruckman from the Blues.
Richards, in his 10th disposal, takes some ground and then goes short to Daniel, who marks half-back. The headgear, as we've come to expect, Caleb Daniel in the defensive 50 goes across the ground to Dale, and the switch is on all the way out to Joe Hannison. The Norm Smith medalist marks right half-back for the Bulldogs. 2-2 to 4 behinds. Carlton still looking for their first goal early in the second term. He waits and then hits up English on the wing. Marks uncontested. Hand pass to Jamara. Kick smothered. Ricochets through to Bontempelli. Still with the Dogs. Hand pass to Bailey Smith. Feeds it to O'Donnell. Hand pass back to the Bont. Centre half forward. Kicks deep forward. And in the end, Newman stands in front of Waitman. Takes the intercept mark for Carlton.
Chips it to Sard. Wants to quickly move it on to Walsh. He has to collect on the half volley. He does so. Hand passes out wide to Doherty. Hand passes to Akers. He's got it at right half back, takes a bounce up against the boundary line, sends it forward. Motlop, was he shoved out of it? No, the mark is taken by Johannesen. He chips it to Bontempelli, who's marked defensive side of the wing. Now he chips it inside the centre square where he finds Dale. Swings around, will send it inside forward 50. Knocked away from O'Donnell. Cottrell at the back gives it to Young, who shoots it out into the path of Pitnet.
He's going to have to run onto it, though. That's not usually his jam. He puts it on the boot, kicks down the wing, and Charlie Curnow takes the mark. Hand pass to Walsh. The machine burning forward for Carlton. Kicks into the pocket. Motlop marks. And Walsh, with that high work rate, getting out all alone and able to deliver it deep into the forward pocket. And a mark for Jesse Motlop.
Great call, Corbs. That was all on the back of Sam Walsh's running ability there. Worked super, super hard.
New 2-year deal during the week. Now the chance to give Carlton their first goal of the night. They've had to wait for it. Motlop's hit the fat part of the footy. It's almost hit the roof. High up and under to the top of the goal square, and Lobb takes the intercept mark.
There's our man sitting in the back 50.
And it's not started well for Carlton tonight. They're 4 behinds. The Bulldogs are 2-2, 3.5 minutes into the second term.
Lobb kicks to Richards in the defensive goal square, and then he just casually runs up the corridor and has a bounce inside defensive 50. Flares the kick out wide to English. Has some work to do in the contest. His arms were chopped. He's got the free kick at left half back.
For all the frustration for Carlton, they're 10 points down. It's 2 to 4 behinds, and I'm sure the method will worry them, but game's still on the line.
English chips to Edwards. His kick looking for Smith on the wing. Spills to Waitman, who kicks inside forward 50. O'Donnell off hands. Hand passes to Ugle-Hagan, who fends off Young. Tries the impossible from the boundary. Ugle-Hagan has missed to the right. That would have been something.
But that was a goal then when it left his boot, I tell you.
Dogs up by 11, 2-3, 15 to 4 behinds, 5 played second term.
Just like the way O'Donnell's competing, just knows what to do, doesn't he? Just a couple of times he's had to been out of position, brought the ball to ground, and then first give, put his teammate into a better position.
McGovern from the kick out drives it up to the wing. Cottrell just keeps it going forward, runs onto it. Low trajectory kick to Mackay, skids past him. Jones intercepts for the Bulldogs. That's Liam. A hand pass to Richards. He's tackled, taken the ground. Silvani forcing the neutral ball between wing and half forward for the Blues.
Bulldogs changed the angles with the ball by foot, and Carlton are just yet to do that yet. I think they've still got to take a few little risks.
Dogs by 11. English wins the hit out. Hewitt hand pass back in the field of play. It's knocked out of bounds by Artie Jones. So after Jones, the small forward for the Dogs, and Liam Jones, obviously the key back. So have to keep up with the Joneses tonight. 11-point lead for the Dogs, 5.5 gone second term.
We've been thinking about that all week,
yeah,
I know you have.
Umpire flicks the ball back in a plate. Pitnet palms it down to himself almost, and then kicks it off the ground to Silvani at half forward, shrugs the tackle, hand passes inboard to Hollins, who gives it to Walsh from outside 50, kicks to full forward. It's a turnover. Gardner marks in the last line of defence for the Dogs.
If Walsh is going to become an elite player, he's a very, very good player, he has to get that part of his game right. There's a lot of little kicks that don't go really anywhere.
Gardner to Richards, and now a short pass to Williams. So that's 19 inside 50s for Carlton for 4 scores. They still haven't got a goal. Back to Richards. Richards to Dale, and he swings it from one back flank to the other. They'll try out the city side. Johannesson marks and plays on. Says to Charlie Curnow, come with me. He kicks up into the centre square, and Giray takes the mark. Giray looks out wide. Back out at the boundary line. Still city side. Baker's got it for the Bulldogs. 70 from home. Pokes it inside the forward 50. Louis Young punches it away. Out of bounds and a throw-in. 35 out from the Dogs' goal.
That's Johannesson's go, isn't it? Get it off half-back, run, take him on. Curnow nearly got him. Just broke off the line. Nice little bounce and nice finish. It was
electric, wasn't it?
Love seeing that.
Who wins a 100 dash? Curnow and Johannesson.
100? Yeah, Johannesson. I think Charlie would start to wear him down maybe over 150, 200.
I'd like to see it.
Dogs by 11 from the ball in. McRae tackled going nowhere, so we've got a ball up, 40 out from the Dogs' goal, kicking to the Lockett end in this second term. From the stoppage, Doherty gets boot to ball. And as far as Liberatore feeds it out to McRae, hooks the kick around the corner to full forward. Hagan got his hands to it, but it's knocked through for a rushed behind. Bulldogs 2-4-16, leading Carlton 4 behinds, 8 played, second term.
Adam Saad in the kick-out duties. There's the Wolf, as we've heard from Vel Perovic and Ange Christou's over the year, the long left footers from Carlton, as Saad goes out to half-back. Doherty's got it. Hit the deck though, and as a result, we'll have a ball up as he's locked up by Liberatore and Baker.
Dogs' prime movers haven't really got going yet, which probably isn't a great sign for the Dogs, really. Liberatore 7, Bontempelli 7, Smith only 7, McRae 6, so plenty of upside there.
Bulldogs by 2 goals from the restart. Pitted it down to McRae, though. The Dogs hand pass away to Bailey Smith. Tackled, just got it out to English. Hand pass to Johannesson. Sends his kick down to half forward. Scott went at it one-handed. Becomes tackler on Kennedy and locks him up. We'll have a ball up here, just 2 steps inside the Dogs' 50. Just in from the boundary line. City side. Bulldogs by 12. 8 gone second term.
8 gone second term. With the 1 full quarter, 2 goals kicked for the game under a roof, Corbin.
Amazing.
Come on.
From the ball up, English brought to ground, and we've got another ball up.
Entertainment industry, Boomer. Come on.
Get him up. Get him up and about.
Paddy Cripps only had the 4 positions.
Has this off the SMS. Unnamed texter. Why do I get such a guilty pleasure from watching Carlton struggle? Am I a bad person?
Probably a Collingwood supporter.
This time from the stoppage, Hewitt dispossessed. Play-on's the call. Chincotta gives it to Akers, who hacks it out of the danger zone. To a contest at half-back, off hands, McRae picks it up, gives it to Baker, he's 55 out from goal, and kicks to Bontempelli on the lead, through his hands, Newman collects for the Blues, gives it to Kennedy, he pumps it long out of there to the city wing, Gardner's going to lead in the race against Silvani, Gardner taps it back, looking for Richards, who collects, gives it to Johannesson, close up against the boundary line, he kicks it back from where it came, no one's there for the Dogs, and Newman takes the intercepting mark.
Plays on, looks for Motlop and Charlie Curnow, flying in the air, no mark, spills down to Walsh, has it 60 out, pokes the pass inside 50, and the mark to Matt Owies, who's got it left out forward, 35 out, says pump the brakes.
Don't turn your back on the goals.
Drop punt, looks like at least he's going for a drop punt.
Yeah. Well, and he's a bit of a sharpshooter, and this is what he's in the team for, so I don't mind him taking the responsibility, because no one's done that yet, have they? But that's better, isn't it? That transition. That passage of play, and it was Newman who took the yards, and he took the space in front of him, long kick into space, good contest, Walsh involved again.
To get rid of the O in the goals column, Matt Owies gets Carlton started. It's taken 10 minutes into the second quarter, but the Baggers have their first goal of the night. Carlton move to 1-4-10. The Western Bulldogs 2-4-16. The Doggies by 6 points. 10 minutes into the second term. Brent Harvey and Luke Ball.
It's a great call, Bally, because he wins the ball. Newman wins the ball there. Instead of just holding it up and let the Bulldogs sift back, let their wingers behind the ball, let their ruckman get behind the ball, he marks it and he goes straight away. He makes something happen, and that's all you need. The forwards, that's all you want. You just want a chance to get it one-on-one. When you're playing 6v8 or 6v7, gee, it's hard to play football like that. But when it's 6v6, you got your one-on-ones. If you don't mark it, you bring it to the ground, you're still a chance.
Score check from the Gabba, by the way. Essendon by 4 points over Brisbane, so 3-3 to 2-5. 4-point lead for the Dons, 16 minutes into the second.
6 points the margin here at Docklands. Oh, he's a sharp shooter this season. 7 goals, 1. His first of the evening. As the Blues in touch from the restart, Kennedy wobbles it forward to half forward. Richards is there for the Dogs. Kick around the corner, lands into the chest of McRae, who's marked on the logo, Dockside. Chips it forward to Bontempelli. Measures a pass to Williams at half forward. He can take off, run inside forward 50 and look for a target up forward. Off hands, Young is there for the Blues and chips it to Durden, who's marked still inside defensive 50.
He's a long way from home. He pulls the trigger on the 45, back to Chincotta. Marks at centre half back for the Blues. A lot more ball in hand, and it resulted in a few more scores. Finds Doherty at half back. Hand pass to Newman, short kick to Hollands. Slow build up. Dogs with numbers back in the corridor.
This is the one after long down the line again.
12 minutes in the second term. Hollands goes to high half forward. Gardner over the top, tries to spoil, spills to Bontempelli of the Bulldogs. Hand pass to Duray, handball away to Richard, short kick to Bailey Smith. Newman breaks it up, spoils it out of bounds. A throw in front of the benches. Dogs by 6.
Bulldogs won the flag in 2016 on the back of being really quick with the hands, and they're elite. They're the best handballing team in the competition by a long way. They get the ball away from their opponent, arms up, and they dish it off really, really well.
Ball thrown in, Pitternet down to Cripps. Daniel laying a tackle on Doherty, and we've got a ball up City wing. Dockside wing, rather. English and Pitternet tangle. Pitternet whacks it down, no one there. It rolls out of play. So we've got a throw in front of the interchange benches here on the Dockside of the wing. Dogs by 6, 12 played second term.
2-4 to 1-4. 13 minutes into the second term. The Dogs with the first 2 goals of the game. They came in the first 12 minutes. They barely hit the scoreboard since. Boundary throw in. Rucks miss it. Comes down to Doherty. Hand pass to Pitternet. Surely he's tackled without it. Late whistle. A free kick for Carlton. And Hewitt says, I'll take the advantage. Heads down to Charlie Curnow. Marks in the launch pad. He's got it 70 from home at half forward. Looks for Big H. Mackay out on the lead. Jones spoils. Liam Jones breaking it up for the Bulldogs. Spills out to Kennedy. Pumps it back deep inside 50. They all compete in the air. Falls to Chera. Hand pass inboard. Artie Jones for the Bulldogs. Hurried handball away to Williams. He floats a kick out of defensive 50 to Hewitt. And the Blues able to trap it in their front half. He takes the mark high half forward.
English stands the mark. Hewitt now just sends it long into a crowded forward 50. They all fly. Ground level. Waitman picks it up for the Dogs and hacks it out of the danger zone. It bounces in front of Norton, who collects. Hand passes inboard to McRae, who hand passes it off to Smith from the centre square. Kicks laterally to Jones, who's marked defensive side of the Dock wing. Bought a pass to McRae. He's marked in front of the Dogs bench. Content to just hold it up and kick backwards to Keith, who's marked on the point of the square, and he sends it back inside defensive 50 to Jones. Continues the switch to the outer side. Gardner marks it right half back. He chips it and turns it over. Akers couldn't complete the mark, has time to gather. Hand passes to Durden, who chips it to Curnow, who marks strongly against Gardner. He's got it 2 kicks from goal outer side.
Picks himself up off the deck. Carlton home game, they're getting a little louder. They've kicked the only goal in the quarter, which is 15 minutes old. They all fly again. Silvani goes up, spills out the back to McRae of the Bulldogs. Hand pass to Keith in front of the behind line. Kicks out wide, turns it over. And Walsh takes the intercept mark for Carlton. Half forward, 35 metres out. And they were screaming for it back inboard. The Dogs were getting numbers back, and I think the Carlton fans are happy enough to have it in the hands of this man.
Yeah, the Dogs fans would probably prefer it not in the hands of Ryan Gardner and Alex Keith coming out of deep defensive 50. A couple of mistakes in a row there. The Blues are all over them, really, aren't they? Repeat inside 50s, just not capitalising on the scoreboard.
To get some reward for their work, Walsh kicks a helicopter goalward. He's lucky to score. If even, they're going to check whether that's snuck in from behind or it's out on the full.
Boundary umpire called on the full, didn't he?
Yeah.
It's starting to get like cricket, Corb. You know when you're out by a metre and a half, the umpire just wants to make sure. We're starting to get to that stage, and it's a little bit annoying, to be honest with you.
Oh, no. I think the goal umpire tapped his chest to say that that's my call, but you're right, Burma. The boundary umpire also at the same moment sort of went to put his hands out to say that's
on the full.
That's out on the full. So if it's clipped the behind post, it'll be no score.
Now it's boundary side, it's on the full. They're so reluctant to make a call now. Oh, they're in the perfect spot. Boys, back yourself. That's what we used to do.
And also what we worked out recently,
decision on the scoreboard.
So that'll be a point. We also don't have the snicker on the behind post because it's too expensive, so we've only got the snicker on the goal post.
So, because both of the umpires have made a call, who wins?
That's a great question. I think the boundary umps carried the day. And Burma, you're right. So it's out on the full, no change to the score. Dogs lead it by 6 points. It's been a bit of a hard watch. 17 minutes into the second quarter. It's 2-4 to 1-4.
It just gives Carlton 36 seconds to set up now instead of being a quick play for the Bulldogs.
Dale kicks it to Williams, who's just marked inside the field of play. He's 40 out from his defensive goal. Will wind up and send a long ball down the wing. That is pinpoint Jones marks.
Great work rate too by Cody Waitman and Jones then.
Hard running from Artie Jones. Now kicks it long up towards half forward. Hagen has 3 to beat. He decides to go upstairs and he's given away the free kick. Newman sends it into the corridor. That's a great kick. Walsh marks. The Blues fans cry out for him to kick it towards Durden, who's all alone. He just marks as Baker applies the pressure. Chips it forward to half forward. Hollands marks. He's 60 out from goal. Now sends it towards Motlop, who has some bit of work to do. It's off hands. Cripps gathers. Hand passes to Walsh. This time the tight angle from the pocket. He's hit it into the behind post again. It's out of bounds on the full free
Cripps
kick.
has got a free kick.
Dogs. Yeah. You're right. It is coming back. So Cripps has got the free kick.
Just got one high, I think, from Ed Richards. Not much in it, but no advantage, so it'll come back. He's had a good 5 minutes to skip up. Both him and Sam Walsh, just with their work rate, getting their team right back into this game.
He's 20 out from goal, 10 in from the boundary. Patrick Cripps hasn't been that sharp in front of goal this season. 1 goal, 8 so far. And he has hit the fat side of the footy. It's missed the goals by about 20 metres. It went pretty much laterally, and Jones is marked to the right back pocket.
I don't know what's left to say. A 6-point lead for the Bulldogs. 19 minutes into the second term. Liam Jones to halfback and Jamara takes the mark. It is 2-4 to 1-4. Under the roof at Docklands. 19 minutes into the second quarter. The Dogs' 2 goals came in the first 12 minutes. And Carlton, who have been inside 50 on 25 occasions, have kicked 1 goal 4. As the kick down the wing from Jamara broken up by McGovern. He knocks it out of play and a throw-in on the wing.
All right, I've got a call. You've just got to give the ball to Nick Newman off half-back now. He's the only... Every time the Carlton boys look like scoring is when Newman switches play and goes back through the middle and hits a kick. Every other time it's long down the line.
Lob and Silvani, the ruckman from the boundary throw-in. Lob wins it down. Daniel hand pass, tried to get it to Libba, gets a second go. Daniel shoots it out to McRae. Hand pass back in the centre square for Dale. He puts it inside 50 for the Bulldogs. Great mark, Scott. He's up in a tangle with Chincotta, and Scott wins the one-on-one in the contested mark. Plucks it 45 metres out from goal at right half forward.
You spoke about it earlier, Burma. Quick hands, Caleb Daniel then. That was blinking your missing stuff, but one of the handballs of the year, I'm going to say. That was an absolute ripper for the little man to get his hands up and get that ball out into space. That was brilliant.
In he comes, Anthony Scott. A neat left footer for a bit of class. The great Scott threads it. One the game badly needed. 20 minutes into the second term. The Bulldogs 3-4-22. Carlton 1-4-10. Dogs by 12 points. Time on second term at Docklands. Meanwhile, Essendon lead the Brisbane Lions by 10 points. Time on second term up in Brisbane. Luke Ball and Brent Harvey.
Fourth goal for the game, Bally. Fourth goal, nearly at the end of the second quarter, half-time, 5 minutes to go. Fourth goal for the game. The Blues are just working hard for everything. Like every time it goes in forward 50, it looks hard. The Bulldogs go in, mark, finish off their work. So it's not the most entertaining game at the minute, but that's probably the way the Bulldogs like it. A little bit scrappy. But it comes back to the skill that they've got versus Carlton at the minute. Their hands have been excellent again tonight.
Goal apiece in this second term. Dogs by 12. Back in the middle. Lob's moved into the ruck for the Dogs. Liberatore overruns it. And scraps for it with Hewitt. And the umpire calls for it.
Well, it's lob against Silvani in the ruck here. Surely it's a huge advantage for the Bulldogs.
Silvani palms it down, but straight to Bontempelli. He scrubs it forward 10 metres. Picked up by Dale, who hand passes to Liberatore from the centre square, sends it to full forward. The Twin Towers are there for the Dogs. It gets out the back. Norton just couldn't collect the footy. It's close to the line, and it is still alive. Norton picks it up. He hand passes to Scott. Snap around the corner from the top of the square. 2 in a minute to Scott. And the Dogs out to a game-high 18-point lead. 4-4-28 to the Blues, 1-4-10, 22 played second term on Grandstand AFL. Luke Ball and Brent Harvey.
That ball's got to go through. Carlton have got to do everything they possibly can to get that ball through. There's nothing worse. It's a coach killer when the ball is bobbling around 30 centimetres from the line and the boys just don't get it through. The Bulldogs, that's exactly what they want. They keep the ball alive, they scrap, they bite, they scratch, they do absolutely everything they can. Oh, it's so close. You've got to get that through, boys. Opportunist goal. Scott, 2 in a minute.
Actually, big turnaround from Cripps' miss in the
Yeah,
forward pocket.
look, it is, isn't it? And then 2 in a row, just with a bit of class and make you taking their opportunities with less inside 50s again for the quarter. The Dogs 25-15 for the game, but Dogs scoring half the time they go in at the moment. The Blues really struggling to score at all.
Cripps had a chance to lock it up and even the game, and straight down the other end, 2 in a row for Anthony Scott and the Bulldogs, and he's just set out to a game high 18 points. Carlton win a centre break here through Hewitt. Runs, carries, kicks to Charlie Curnow, has his arm dragged on Liam Jones. And a free kick for against Curnow. Oh, hang on.
He was in front there. I'm not sure how you give a free kick away from in front.
No. Liam Jones will get it for the Bulldogs at half back. The Carlton fans aren't happy with the umpiring call or the fact that Liam Jones used to play for them. The kick heads down to the wing and Lobb's got it. He's tackled. We'll have the ball up beneath us and in front of the Dogs bench. Bulldogs by 18 points, 23 gone second term.
You would say that the umpire was in good position. That's all you could say, Bert. Better position than us.
Good call.
From the stoppage, Liberatore locked up, and we've got another ball up. English against Pitterneck. Palms it down. Hewitt gives it to Doherty, close up against the boundary line. Snaps it towards half forward. Richards almost completes the mark. Then collects it ground level. Hand passes defensively to Dale, who gives it to Smith. Got some room to move at half back. Bombs it long down the line. Ugle-Hagan in front position once, twice. No, can't complete it. Norton roves. Hand passes to Liberatore. He gives it off to Caleb Daniel from the centre square. Kicks it to Williams in the pocket. Good fist came from Hollins. Still alive for Williams, who burns Hollins. Gets boot to ball as Hollins dragged him to ground. Bontempelli picks it up. Tries to get around a couple. Umpire calls play on. The ball spills to Young, who kicks it directly to the boundary line.
That's a skill error.
I think it's a skill error. And the umpire called insufficient intent. Free kick to the Dogs at right half forward.
Sorry, Jess. They looked at each other, the umps. I think neither of them knew, but if they've been watching the Blues for the last 2 weeks, it was a skill error.
Oh, no.
Anyway.
Dogs by 18 points. Gerard lays it up. They all fly in the pack. Norton stays down. Got it. Hand pass under pressure to Scott. He's tackled. Ump says, I'll have it. Ball up top of the goal square for the Bulldogs.
They're going to leave at half-time, three-quarter time. That's the question.
If they were restless last week, I can't imagine what the Carlton fans are thinking at the moment. Waitman gets it from the ball up, tackled, dispossessed, free kick Carlton. Kennedy took the advantage, kicks out wide to Hollins. He's tackled out of play.
That's the composure, Bally. The lack of composure by the Blues at the minute.
No, he's saying he didn't hear it. Look, it is loud out there, so maybe he didn't hear the hold of the ball call. Fair enough. It's pretty hot down there.
Boundary throw in here, about 35 out from the Dogs' goal. No advantage. Ball's out of play. The advantage was taken. So we'll have a boundary throw-in. Half forward for the Dogs.
Bulldogs by 18. From the ball in, Waitman. And he passes to Smith, goes backwards to Williams, hooks it around the corner into the pocket to a big pack. It's off hands. Norton picks it up, tackled by Doherty. Umpire says holding the ball. Free kick to the Blues.
That's how they go on this transition. Doherty gets the footy, walks back next to the behind post.
There's no movement by the Blues backs.
No.
Nobody wants the football. You've got to want the ball in your hands.
A long kick out to half-back. Liam Jones with a big fly in the pack. Didn't come down with it. Tackles Motlop as it hits the deck. Ball spits out. There's a free kick. It's going Carlton's way for a dump tackle against Liam Jones as he came to ground. Just slung it. Motlop into the ground, and the ump says you can't be doing that. Free kick for Carlton. Short kick to Cripps. He heads down that city wing for Motlop, but didn't even realise it was coming towards him. Had to turn around, was caught wrong-footed. Dale, slick hand pass to Daniel, back to Dale. Hand pass along the line. It's knocked out of play by Silvani, so we'll have a throw-in. City wing here at Docklands. Carlton have kicked one goal from 26 entries. 1-4 to 4-4. The Bulldogs lead it by 18 points as we close in on half-time.
Again, you'd have to say, though, their pressure's been, their last 5 minutes have been on the punt. Their tackling, their pressure's been good, their contest has been good. It's just that third phase of the game. They can't get anywhere near nailing at the moment.
Ball back into play. English against Pitternet. Pitternet just takes it out of the ruck, jams it on the boot towards half forward. Lands in the path of Richards, who had a fumble. Now ball alive at half forward for the Blues. It's picked up by Cottrell. He gets boot to ball. Wobbles it inside forward 50. Keith leading the race for the Dogs. Silvani with close company. It goes out of play. Ball in 40 around from the Blues goal. They trail the Dogs by 18. 27 played second term.
Bolly, we'll talk a little bit more about this at half-time when we've got more time, but for me, it's the chicken and the egg. If you've got no ball, they're kicking down the line because there's no movement. And when you've got no movement, you lack confidence, so you end up going, he's just going to go down the line. And it's a fall of the ball contest. It's not great.
Down to throw in. Pitternet wins the hit out straight down to Keith. Hurried kick into the centre square for the Bulldogs. Scrap on for the footy. Lobb throws his body in there. Waitman extracts it. Runs into Kennedy. Ball held in the pack. We'll have the ball up. Half-time at the Gabba. Essendon lead Brisbane by 10 points. 4-5 to 2-7. Here it's the Bulldogs by 3 goals, a game high as we close in on half-time, and Mark Pitternet's got a little cut, so the blood rul's been called and he's starting to jog towards the bench. Neither of the technical subs been made. Ed Curnow for Carlton and Lockie McNeil for the Bulldogs.
Who's kicked the goal for the Blues?
Matt Owies.
They did too.
Come at the 11-minute mark of this second term. It's their only goal for the night.
They're going to have to get something out of the two big boys up forward if they're going to want to win this game.
Up it goes. Silvani and English. They both share it. Comes down to Bailey Smith. Hand pass away to Daniel. Handball away to Keith. Bit of a darting run as he arches the back and then kicks up into the front half of the Bulldogs. Slips past Wiedering. Down to Saar to the Blues. Hand pass to Doherty. Has a fumble. Regathers.
Loops the hand pass over the top to Wiedering, back to Doherty, and now off to Walsh. Defensive side of the outer wing, chips it forward as Neat finds Mackay. Second time I've done that tonight. Kicks in board to Kennedy, who's marked on the outer edge of the centre square. Wants to kick it all the way to the dockside wing. Newman marks. Now they have some room. Hand passes to Chincotta, who chips it into the arc looking for Curnow. It's knocked away from him. Still alive. Akers hooks it around the corner. It was touched. Jones collects, plays on, thumps it out of there. Newman rather. Almost out of bounds on the full, but does go over. It was touched, so it's a ball in between wing and half forward for the Blues.
Who kicked that last inside 50 ball then for the Blues?
Chincotta?
Yeah,
was it? Yeah.
Or was it Akers again? It's smothered.
Boundary throw in. Silvani just knocks it forward. Here's Owies. Collects, runs out of room. And the pressure from Scott. Ends up sliding into the gutter and he's helped up by his teammate. As Burma said, you can tell that's not Tom Liberatore. He wouldn't be doing that. That's Anthony Scott helping up his opponent. 4 goals to 1. Half-hour mark, second term. 18-point lead for the Bulldogs. Boundary throw in. Kennedy's kick smothered. Ricochets inside 50. Always paddles to his own advantage. Hooks a kick back to a dangerous spot. Top of the goal square. Dale, a darting run. Wins it. Hand pass away to Liam Jones. Short kick to Williams, who's got it in the back pocket. And he immediately strolls off his line and then kicks long up to that City wing. In the waning moments of the first half. On the bounce to Giray. Quick hands. O'Donnell receives it. Gives it to Waitman, and that'll do us. It's the end of a half of footy. And certainly in the context of this season, that half is the most recent one that we've seen. The Bulldogs 4-4 to 1-4. An 18-point lead for the Dogs. And Carlton, with 29 forward 50 entries, have kicked one goal to half-time with the two best contested marking players in the game and two of the best key forwards that we have in football at the moment in Harry Mackay and Charlie Curnow. They're both goalless. Matt Owies has Carlton's only goal. 2 for Anthony Scott. They both came in that second term. Aaron Norton has 1 and Jason Johannisen kicked the first of the night. Simon from the Gather Round City, being Adelaide, of course, off the SMS. I love listening to Boomer and Ballie's footy wisdom. And a question for you both about where it has broken down for Carlton this year. On paper, we look like we have been performing so much better. Is it the game plan, a lack of confidence, basic skills? What is it? We're about to get the analysis of Boomer and Ballie here. Brett, appreciate your SMS, 0437 774 774. Half-time at the Gabba, low-scoring game there too. Essendon 4-2 lead the Brisbane Lions by 10 points. And here it's the Dogs by 18 points over Carlton, 4-1. Ballie and Boomer, make sense of that for us.
Well, I think we can respond to that question as well as we do so. And really, I like stripping it back to the very basics, Boomer. There's 3 phases of the game. So, it starts as a contest. The ball's in contest. Yep. They've got it. So how do we get it back off them? Yep. And then we've got it. How do we move the ball basically from one end to the other or, forward and kick it between the big sticks? And I'd say from Carlton's point of view, 2 of those 3 phases, big ticks at the moment. Contested possessions, tick.
Yep.
Tackling pretty good, I reckon. Yeah, I reckon the pressure's been pretty good, and it was last week as well against the top 4 side in Brisbane. So ball. Really, to answer that question is, what are we doing when we've got the ball in our hands? And for me, it's a combination of decision making, I think. Lack of confidence with some of them when they've got the ball, particularly on turnover. I think that's the main thing. I mean, really, you only score in really 2 main ways these days, and that's stoppage, which they're okay at. But the main way is scoring from turnover. And
the other one's kickings, but it's a very low
percentage, as you know. Yeah, so we know that they're getting scored against from turnover at the moment really heavily, but their ability to score from turnover, and why that's more prevalent these days is because the way teams set up defensively at stop plays these days, most teams are pretty good at everyone on the field knowing where they've got to stand, and usually it's in some sort of defensive structure in particular. So when you turn the ball over, particularly in the middle of the ground or across half-back, usually the other team are out of position defensively. But Carlton's inability to transition the footy from a turnover, take advantage of that, whether it's space or whether it's players out, and then we've spoken about, it's certainly not personnel, as we know, forward of the ball.
Well, Newman's
is
the only
key issue at the moment.
Newman's the only one that's had a really crack. He is the one that took the game by the scruff of the neck. Marked the ball, didn't let Bulldogs set up behind the play, and was switching the ball back through the middle. I want to talk about the inside 50s, and not Carlton tonight or not Western Bulldogs tonight, in general in the AFL. There's been 47 inside 50s for 5 goals. There's got to be a new stat in football for me. We all look at inside 50s and say, rightio, and we compare them 18 to 29 to half-time. What about the good inside 50s?
Marks retained. It is. Kicks to a mark.
And I know people are going to laugh at me.
The money kick.
It is. And I'm going to say it's the most important kick in football. People are going to say that's crap because kicking the goal is the most important one. I think the inside 50 kick is by far the most important kick inside 50. You've got composure, like you just spoke about, Ballie. You've got a little bit of time through poise with your mates telling you got time. You can lower your eyes. Everyone seems to kick the ball 25 out and hope Norton takes a specky, hopes Mackay takes a specky, or Curnow takes a specky. You've got to be able to lower your eyes and let players hit up. And that's what I was talking about, the chicken and the egg before. When there's not much going on, people just go, Carlton, I know where this is going. It's going along down the line, so I'm not going to run there because I'm going to be out of the play for the fall of the ball. So you don't move. So then the kicker has got nothing else to do except for kick down the line, and you're playing a fall of the ball game. You've got the ball 100%. Now you're turning the play into a 50-50. For me, it doesn't that up. I wouldn't coach like that. I'm not saying Vossi coaches like that, but it looks like Carlton have gone into their shell and just kicking the ball down the line for me.
interesting what you said about the inside 50 kicks. So the game up in Brisbane at the moment, obviously we're not watching that, but 55 inside 50s for 6 goals.
Yeah.
So you talk about what it means across the competition and the efficiency going inside competition-wide. There's not a great efficiency rate there either.
There's a lot of repeat inside 50s because the teams are so good defensively now setting up. And we've seen the Western Bulldogs tonight, when the ball goes in, English will just go stand outside where he thinks the ball's going to go. Hopefully Carlton win it. Quick kick, English marks it, the ball goes back in. So you get a lot of repeat inside 50s, but I still think there's room for a lot more composure. Drop your eyes, hit a forward, hitting up, 35, 40 out, go back and have a shot on goal.
And both teams' defences actually one-on-one have stood up pretty well.
Yep.
I think when you look at it hasn't been pressure. There's only been one tackle for Carlton inside 450, 2 tackles for the Bulldogs. So it hasn't been for the ball pressure. I think they're both teams' key defences have stood up really well tonight against quality opposition, as we know. There was a period there late in that second quarter where the Bulldogs were really putting the Carlton defenders under the pump, and they responded, and they hung in there. And Scott, that was an opportunist goal, as you said. That should have been rushed through. That's a mistake there. And then he kicked a beautiful goal from 52. But they haven't been able to lace too many out as well, the Bulldogs, in this first half.
I wasn't just pigeonholing Carlton in. I'm just saying, what did I say before? 18 inside 50s for the... What is it? 18
the
for Bulldogs,
yep.
And 29 for Carlton. They're both in exactly the same boat. I'll tell you what we haven't seen tonight, guys, is the stars of the game, the Bontempellis, the Cripps grabbing the game by the scruff of the neck and going, rightio, come with me, boys, because Curnow, those absolute guns, we just haven't seen that. I thought I was going to come tonight, it's going to be Cripps and Bontempelli, let's go and do this, and I haven't seen that tonight.
Well, the Dogs' ball winners have all been in defence, all been across half back.
Yep.
I reckon Ed Richards has been superb.
He's been
his first quarter, set it up for the Dogs, and they've been under the pump a bit, so a high number of ball coming their way. Richards had 19, Dale 19, Williams 16, and Joe Hannison. I'd be keen to chat to someone about the experiment of playing him forward. They've persisted with it for so long. This is a guy who won a Norm Smith medal across half back. To me, he just looks so much better, so much different a player, so much better a player with the game in front of him. Extraordinary.
It's funny.
Richards is the same.
When they want to
both half forward.
When they want to experiment with a player, they normally play him at half forward. Half forward is the hardest spot on the ground for a small medium, because you don't get the ball kicked to you like your Nick Rewalt, your Wayne Carey, all those type of guys. You don't get the ball kicked to you one-on-one. So you've got limited opportunities. And those players, like Joe Hannison, who's a Norm Smith medalist, you're right, Paul. He's so quick. He's a smart decision maker. He needs the game played in front of him so he can get the ball and run and make a call.
Cripps is the number 1 contested possession player in the competition. He's had 1 contested possession at half-time, and Bontempelli's the number 1 clearance player. He's had 1 to half-time. So, as you said, Boomer, not sort of gaudy stats in the matchup that we love to sell between the two captains, Cripps and Bontempelli. It's Bont's team who leads at half-time by 3 goals. The thoughts of Luke Ball and Brent Harvey. More from our grandstand AFL experts in just a moment. Second half action around the corner. Up at the Gabba, it's Essendon who lead Brisbane by 10 points, and here under the roof at Docklands, 4 goals to 1. The Bulldogs by a game-high 18 points at half-time. Second half action in just a moment, but first the latest from the ABC Newsroom.
Hello, this is ABC News with David Rowlands. 2 men have been arrested in Melbourne after a protest organised by far-right groups on the steps of Parliament led to violence. Roseanne Maloney reports.
Neo-Nazis organised the protest against immigration policies on the steps of the Victorian Parliament today. Violence soon erupted when projectiles were hurled between protesters and a large crowd of counter-protesters. In a statement tonight, Victoria Police said hate and prejudice had no place and acknowledged the damage anti-Semitism can cause. Police say a 30-year-old man from Doreen in Melbourne's outer northeast and a 20-year-old man from Werribee in the city's west have been arrested and are assisting police with their inquiries.
Federal Trade Minister Don Farrell is flying back to Australia after a 2-day visit to China, saying there's positive momentum in relations between the two countries. Senator Farrell met with his Chinese counterpart to discuss issues including trade, biosecurity and investment. The plight of 2 Australians detained in China was also raised. Senator Farrell says they agreed to step up dialogue on trade restrictions.
We've got a pathway for resolving the barley dispute, and we've indicated to the Chinese that we see that as a process for delivering on the issue of wine. I'm confident that as a result of our face-to-face meetings that we are well on the way to resolving all of our outstanding impediments.
The Greens have renewed calls for the federal government to end vice-regal entitlements for those found to have committed misconduct in or out of office. It comes after former Governor-General and Archbishop of Brisbane, Peter Hollingworth, yesterday gave up his authority to officiate as a priest. An Anglican church investigation last month found he knowingly allowed pedophiles to remain in the church while he was the Archbishop of Brisbane in the mid-1990s. Greens Senator David Shoebridge says there are currently no laws to allow a review of Dr Hollingworth's $357,000 a year pension, plus travel and office expenses.
It is remarkable that someone can have received almost 2 decades of extremely generous public entitlements in the millions and millions of dollars, and there is no capacity to review those entitlements in the case of serious misconduct.
Thousands of people have turned out for a Stop the Stadium rally in Tasmania, seeking an end to the plan to build the arena. More from Selena Ross in Hobart.
So we're on the lawns in front of Tasmania's Parliament House, and thousands of people have gathered here to protest against that stadium. And one of the biggest reasons for people's anger is that price tag of $715 million, particularly when the state is in the midst of a housing crisis and also a health crisis in terms of waiting lists in hospitals for surgery, waiting times in ED and things like that are just blown out and have been doing so for many years. There's also anger around transparency of the decision and how the government has gone about securing that deal with the AFL and with funding from the federal government as well.
Russia has unleashed another wave of airstrikes on Ukraine as Ukrainian forces make gains on the ground in the east of the country. The BBC's Hugo Bachega has more.
We had an update from the army. They said Russia had launched 21 Iranian-made drones that Russia has been using to attack Ukrainian cities, and that 17 of them were intercepted by the country's military. A key target here was the western city of Khmelnytsk. In that region, 11 people were injured. It seems the critical infrastructure was hit. The authorities here in Kyiv say that all drones that were launched towards the city were intercepted and that no targets here in Kyiv were hit.
A woman who allegedly threatened police with a small axe when they tried to pull her from a crashed car in Adelaide has been charged with assault. Police were called to Goodwood late last night after her station wagon crashed and rolled onto its side. They will allege the 33-year-old woman brandished a hatchet at her rescuers before she was pulled from the wreck and taken to hospital for a mental health assessment. She's been charged with driving offences, carrying an offensive weapon and assaulting an emergency services worker. This is ABC News.
What's the best thing in the world that's also on the ABC Listen app? The footy! This season, get your footy live and ad-free on the ABC Listen app. AFL, NRL, men's, women's. Whatever you fix, we've got you covered.
She's got it! Bye-bye! See you later!
Every goal, try, mark and tackle. Called by ABC Sports' expert commentary team. AFL and NRL, live and ad-free. Get it on the ABC Listen app.
Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Looks for Motlop and Charlie Curnow. Curnow flying in the air, no mark, spills down to Walsh. Has it 60 out, pokes the pass inside 50 and the mark to Matt Owies to get rid of the O in the goals column. Matt Owies gets Carlton started. It's taken 10 minutes into the second quarter, but the Baggers have their first goal of the night. Wins it down, Daniel hand pass, tried to get it to Lever, gets a second go, Daniel shoots it out to McRae, hand pass back in the centre square for Dale. He puts it inside 50 for the Bulldogs, great mark Scott. In he comes, Anthony Scott, a neat left footer for a bit of class. The great Scott threads it.
Picked up by Dale, who hand passes to Liberatore from the centre square, sends it to full forward, gets out the back. Norton just couldn't collect the footy. It's close to the line, and it is still alive. Norton picks it up, he hand passes to Scott, step around the corner from the top of the square.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital,
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
Sounds there from the second term. We had a whopping 3 goals kicked, 2-1 in favour of the Western Bulldogs. Anthony Scott kicking both of the Bulldogs' goals. They lead the match 4-4 to 1-4. And it's the Dogs by 18 points. Carlton have kicked a goal and a half of football. So much the story here tonight on the back of a poor showing last Friday night against the Brisbane Lions. The heat has been on them all week. They've had a number of past players and certainly high-profile supporters come out and razz them up during the week, and yet they've played like a team that has been pretty tense. They've won a number of key areas, and yet going forward they've had 29 inside 50s for 5 scores. 1 goal, 4 is all it's amounted to for Carlton in that first half of footy. Corbin Middlemass and Jess Webster calling the action. Andrew Mays on the boundary, Luke Ball and Brent Harvey in your grandstand AFL call team. The other game, 2 minutes into the third quarter up in Brisbane. It's Essendon who lead it by 10 points over the Lions. So 4-5-29 over Brisbane, 2-7-19. Got a whole heap of threads throughout the day, it must be said, for Saturday afternoon footy in round 9. Huge win for Fremantle. That was significant. A 17-point win over the Sydney Swans. Swans have now lost 4 in a row. Callum Mills hurt, so further additions to the casualty ward for the Sydney Swans. They're now 3-6 on the season. Fremantle keep their season kicking at 4-5, so they win back-to-back games. The other matches, Port Adelaide by 70 over North Melbourne. Your Roos, Boomer. Speaking of extended injury lists, Tucker hamstring, Davies Uniacke hamstring, Perez concussion, Curtis Corky, and Marnie a shoulder.
Oh,
that's a heavy toll.
Ouch! I did. I went and watched my boy play today for the reserves for the development for North Melbourne. I got home and watched the last quarter, and I were down to 1 man on the interchange. So, and the score wasn't ideal for us, so wouldn't have been great viewing for the Kangas fans, unfortunately.
70-point win for Port Adelaide, so they've now won 6 in a row. North have lost 7 on the bounce. And the twilight game at the MCG, it was Melbourne by 9 goals over Hawthorn. Stephen May celebrating his 200th game. Christian Petrarca was an interesting talking point, Bally. We saw him limping in the waning moment, so it's listed as a foot injury. Harrison Perry was tapped out earlier in the match and finished the game in a moon boot, and he's only just come back from injury, so Melbourne have won 4 in a row, but a big watch on Petrarca during the week, who's played 116 consecutive games. So he's played a lot of footy, rarely misses, but has a foot problem.
Just starting to, we're approaching the mid point of the year, aren't we? Just injuries start to build up and start to become a factor between teams separating themselves from the pack or not. Not many teams are healthy at the moment, Boomer. Probably the Crows, the Saints are starting to get, especially if they get King back, aren't too bad, but
it's very important. The injury part of football is absolutely huge, and that's why St Kilda have been fantastic, because we know how many injuries they've got, and they've got some players coming back. But if you get your players right, and we've seen last night, Richmond v Geelong, who would have picked Richmond?
Just the tipping point was just Geelong. 1 or 2 too many now. 7 or 8 of their better players.
7 of their premiership players, I think, was out.
And they come back to the pack.
So the timing around injuries is absolutely huge at the top level. Huge.
Interestingly, Richmond had more premiership players last night playing than Geelong did. So they had 15. Geelong only had 14. So that's their fewest number. Obviously, having only lost 1 from the premiership side. Selwood retiring. The other 22 still on their list.
I was filthy calls. I picked them as my certainty, the Cats. No. Oh, I was cursing last night at the TV.
Down. We have a Survivor tipping competition at the ABC, and our boss Tim Verrill, he was down at the last 2 with Aaron Bryans, and he took Geelong as well last night. So that was all over, and as salutes there. The earlier game here tonight, so we sort of touched on this earlier, it was the best of the young kids in the country. So an Australian team, all guys in their draft year, up against Carlton's VFL side. Australia won the game, by the way, for whatever it's worth, by 4 points, but Harley Reid sat out the last quarter, received a head knock. Looks like we saw the replays of the ball. He sort of got clipped by inadvertently a player's lower leg on the way through, and almost had a double hit there. As he got hit in one direction from one player, he sort of copped the knee off his second player, so sort of his head was pinballed around. He sort of got up and jogged off, which was good news, but a little shaken and sat out the last quarter, the presumptive number 1 pick.
And he's a tough little bugger too, so it must have did a little bit of damage, because he wouldn't have wanted to come off the ground.
Critters might have seen enough, you think, by that stage?
Yeah. I
don't think it's going to do his draft hopes any good, is it?
The big one next week, Hawthorn West Coast, down in Launceston, which
the Harley Reid Cup.
Ben Cameron is calling it the Seed for Reid game, which I don't mind. If you're an NFL fan, they used to talk about Michael Luck, and they used to call it Suck for Luck. So if you were the lowest ranked team, you had the best chance, obviously, to get the number one pick, and feels a bit like it's pounding out that way in the AFL in season 2023. Bulldogs by 18 points here. Second half upon us. Everyone out in position, ready to go for the start of the second half. Simon from SA enjoying the commentary as a Carlton supporter. I think our forwards are totally overrated and it affects the whole team. And Bill off the SMS, possessions stats should be replaced with effective disposal stats.
Yes, like it.
Certainly disposal efficiency is a key stat. I think the point about the forwards is partially true. It's really the other, the smalls and mids around the two guns. At the moment, nothing out of Owies. He kicked the goal, but nothing out of Owies, Motlop, Durden. Chincotta's been down there a bit. So they're the ones that need to lift this half for the Blues to get up.
We've got the matchup we wanted with Bontempelli and Cripps starting on each other to get the second half underway, and Cripps getting boot to ball with Bontempelli for company. It spills to Smith of the Dogs, who sends it forward. Jones in a contest against Sard, who brought it to ground. Coming through is Akers. He gives it to Pitternet. He was spun. Not sure how he disposed of it. Play on is the call. Dale picks it up for the Dogs. Kicks it into the pocket. Lob is there against Young, who sockers it off the deck towards half back. And coming out is Mackay, who gives it to Walsh. Now inboard to Chera. And Chincotta's caught by Waitman, holding the ball. Advantage is paid as McRae kicks it long to full forward. Ugle-Hagan just ran underneath it, but collects it ground level against McGovern, who did well to dispossess him. Gives it to Akers in the last line of defence. Kicks towards Doherty. The English comes in from the side, drops the mark, gets it at ground level. He hand passes to Liberatore, 50 metres out from goal, kicks into the pocket and hits Jones.
They just get their hands free.
Variety.
They just get their hands free, the Bulldogs. Their arms are straight up. English, it was a fine tackle there by Docker. He just gets his arms up. He gets them free.
It's the work rate of English, though. Just look at him now. It's going to be a real challenge for Mark Pitney as this game goes on. He just wears his opponent into the ground, Tim English.
Arthur Jones, 20 metres out from goal, 10 in from the boundary. We're right behind this kick on Grandstand AFL. And he misses to the right-hand side. Couldn't bring it back enough. Kicks off the second half with a minor. The Dogs, 19-point lead. 4-5-29 to the Blues, 1-4-10. We're 2 minutes into the third.
They're just the little things there, Bally. That kick there by, not sure who the Carlton player was, but he kicked it to Doherty v.
English.
Yeah. And all you have to do is put it out there. Let it bounce. Don't put it in the air for English.
Wiedering marks the kick out, goes long to the wing, and a towering mark for Charlie Curnow. Moves it on fast, hits up Silvani. This looks a bit better. It's got it high half forward for Carlton. Hand pass to the boundary side to Motlop, kicks off his left peg into the forward pocket. Doherty competes, ball hits the ground. Liam Jones grabs it. They've all got him. The ball up forward pocket for Carlton. A bit of fast ball movement, one end to the other in a flash, and now the stoppage in the forward 50 for the Blues. 3 minutes into this quarter from the restart. Comes down to Kennedy, shoots goalward, and he misses. Out to the right, it's a behind, so both teams trading behinds to start this second half. 1-5 to 4-5. Dogs by 3 goals. Meanwhile, up in Brisbane, the Lions have kicked the first 2 goals of the second half, so they now lead the Bombers by 3 points, 10 minutes into the third term.
Richards to Baker in the right back pocket for the Dogs. Sends it long down the line. Jones underneath it, knocked away from Wiedering, out of bounds for a throw-in in front of the interchange gates. Dogs by 18. They kicked the last 2 goals of the second quarter after the Blues got within 6 points. Ball back in a play. Pitternet palms it down, picked up by Smith of the Dogs, tumbles it forward. Norton has to come from the side. It's off hands, picked up by Chera, who gives it to Sard, and now to Akers from left half back, kicks down the line. English in position A and takes the intercepting mark for the Dogs.
They can't let that go on for much longer, Ball. They're going to have to man him up or do something.
English short to Richards. Possession number 20, only Bailey Dale with 21. We've had more than him tonight. Big leap from McGovern, hung in the air a while but never touched the Sheridan. Free kick for Jamara, receives the footy, plays on immediately, heads inside and long marks.
That's the one I'm talking about, Paulie. Drop the eyes. Everyone looks like you're going long. They'll sag off as defenders. Naturally, that's what you do. Drop your eyes, easy hit up. Great kick.
Rory Lobb gets a look at it here, right half forward. He'll kick from right on the 50-metre arc. He's close to the man on the mark. No problems. Pulls the trigger straight through. The Dogs have now got 3 on the bounce. And they stretch it out to a 4-goal advantage. 5-5 to 1-5. Rory Lobb kicks the first of the second half. 4.5 minutes into the third. Bulldogs by 24 points. Brent Harvey, Luke Ball, Grandstand AFL.
24 points. They're actually, if you think about the 4-minute mark in the third quarter, they're still in it. They're 4 goals behind, but they look like they're 15 goals down the way they've been playing at the minute, the Blue Baggers. So it's going to be a tough ask for me if they're going to get themselves back in it. They're going to have to start taking some risks. That ball movement that we see go around boundary, they're going to have to pull the trigger and go on the 45s and get some handball receives, break that line and get the ball into the forwards. It's funny, that last text message saying the 2 big boys are not doing too much work. As a forward, you're always a byproduct of what happens from up the field from your midfielders.
And Curno's looked dangerous up on the field and kicked it really well too. So I'm not sure it's robbing Peter to pay Paul. Maybe get him in the middle. Give him a run in the middle of the ground.
From the middle, Dogs win the clearance. Bontempelli soccers it inside the arc. Hugo Hagan attacks it, can't go with it. Young on the last line defence for the Blues. Pushed off it. Picked up by O'Donnell, the first gamer. And close up against the boundary line, he kicks it through for a behind. So the Dogs, 25-point leaders, 5-6-36 to 1-5-11, 6 played, third term.
Doherty marks the kick out, centre half back, swings it wide to Silvani. Marks boundary line, City side, cuts back inboard to Doherty. Doherty's short kicking game to Walsh. Takes the mark defensive side of the logo. City wing. Back inboard to Chincotta. Jamara spoils. Comes down to the Dogs through Daniel. Short kick to Norton. He marks in the centre square. Lobb screaming for it at right half forward. Kick out in front of him. Lobb marks. Same channel. Right half forward. He has a chance to double up in a matter of minutes.
McGovern was... he needed to go with Lobb there. It's not his direct opponent. He had young O'Donnell. He needed to go and he just didn't go. He played on his man instead of being team defence.
So Rory Lobb, he's 10 metres closer. Same spot, right half forward. Same result. Lobb does it again. And the Dogs are off the leash here. They've kicked 4 unanswered goals. And it's drifting away from Carlton, who have kicked 1 goal for the night. The Bulldogs out by 31. 6-6-42. Carlton 1-5-11. 7 goal on third turn.
And it's another goal from a turnover. Boom, an unforced error again. Sam Walsh just trying to jam one to a 1-on-3 through the corridor. And again, I don't mind the method. To me, the ball was in motion before it got to him. I think the overlap handball was the better option there, and rather than trying to, and he just put a bit of loop on the kick, didn't he too? And
that's exactly
the key. Yeah, and terrific effort must be said. Jamara Ugle-Hagan just to lunge and get that spoil in. That's created the goal, really hasn't. And then lovely bit of use from Caleb Daniel as well. We know he's a good decision maker.
Well,
and then work rate from Rory Lobb.
He stayed in the game, Hugo Hagan, because he was the one that made the play. He read the cues and left.
From the restart, Silvani against English in the ruck. English palms it down. They all dive on top, and we will do it all again right in the bullseye. In the middle of Docklands, Dogs by 31. Chera slips the Bontempelli tackle, gives it to Cripps, who was run down by Jones, affected the kick, picked up by Daniel. Hand passes backwards to Richards from centre half back. Kicks it laterally to Johannesson, who's marked defensive side of the wing. Chips it forward to Bailey Smith. Coming up for disposal, number 17. Sends it towards half forward, knocked away from Ugle-Hagan. Ball at ground level, Hewitt collects for the Blues, gives it to Walsh, who shares it now via a chain of hand passes. Akers, hand passes to Sard in the middle of Docklands. His hand pass releases, Cottrell, he runs to half forward, kicks inside the arc, and they've got a mark through Durden.
That's better.
He's got it 40 out from goal, slide angle to the left.
Well, it's the risk you're talking about, wasn't it, Boom? And accessing the corridor and not stopping and then going sideways. And it didn't look pretty. It looked at times where the Dogs might turn it over, but they ran in numbers. There was always the extra number there, and it came off. And that's a really nice kick, actually, from Cottrell, because you have an obvious option streaming through the launch pad there and found young Durden. He's got to take this chance. This is what he's in the team for.
4 in a row to the Dogs. Carlton desperately need this from Corey Durden, and it's got the distance. They get one back, the Blues. The Dogs, 6-6-42, leading Carlton 2-5-17. 10 minutes played, third term on Grandstand AFL. It is their first goal since halfway through the second quarter. Luke Ball and Brett Harvey.
Well, that's the one. The opportunist, it wasn't an opportunist goal because the ball actually had some method to it coming through the corridor. And you're right, it's that risk versus reward. It's that risk versus reward, but it's that last kick going inside 50 where they didn't kick it long to a spot on the ground. They actually hit a forward up. It was a great little finish, but you called it, Paulie. He needed to kick that goal just to keep him a little bit alive in this game. He's got the full forward.
Played his sample footy for Centrals, so probably used to seeing the opposition jumper a fair bit, where he made his senior debut playing for Central Districts in the SANFL. Young Corey Durden, goal in all 8 games he's played this year. Back in the middle, Doherty knocks it down towards Kennedy. Hand pass comes away to Hollands. Had the blinkers on. Hardy Jones ran him down. Up says play on. Ball spills to Silvani. He extracts it for Carlton to Kennedy on the wing. Hand pass to Doherty. Turns it over by hand. Smith for the Bulldogs. Hand pass to Bontempelli. Kicks down to half forward. Beats a couple. Newman's there. His hand pass knocked down by Scott. Here's O'Donnell. Shoots a hand pass away. Turns it over. And the Blues win it back. Sard away to McGovern. Hand pass to Wiedering. Kicks off the back flank and Walsh marks. Right half back. Bulldogs by 25. 11 gone, third term.
I love the way Hardy Jones chases and tackles with intent, doesn't he? He's a beauty. He's really coming of age in this Dogs forward line.
Roll short to Mackay, who chips it forward to Hollands. He chips it towards Doherty, who's marked wing position out of side, hugged up against the boundary line. Doherty bombs it long towards half forward. Kennedy has a few to beat. It's off the chest of English down to Smith, who hand passes to Scott. Smith will get it back. From the wing, lovely delivery to Norton, who presents between wing and half forward. No one inside forward 50. O'Donnell and Lobb get back there now. Norton just sends a high ball towards half forward. O'Donnell will take a run at this. It's knocked away from him. Liberatore is tackled by Sard. It spills to Daniel. Gets boot to ball only as far as chair of the Blues. Hand passes to Doherty, who gives it to Walsh. His hand pass is a turnover. Daniel picks it up, tackled by McGovern, and we've got a ball up centre half forward for the Dogs.
Silvani's starting to go a little bit further with English now, but once again, ball comes down for Carlton and English impacts. He didn't mark the ball, but he still had an impact on the ground.
From the stoppage, Chera for the Blues kicks it straight to Jay Hannison. Marks in the middle of Docklands, kicks it straight down the pipe. Norton in the pack, knocked away by Silvani, and it runs through for a rush behind. Another score for the Bulldogs. They lead by 26, 12 gone in the third. Meanwhile, up at the Gather, after a scoreless second quarter, Brisbane have kicked after a goalless second quarter, Brisbane have kicked 4 unanswered goals to start the third. So after trailing by 10 at half-time, Brisbane lead by 16 over Essendon, time on third term.
Newman with the kicking for the Blues finds Kennedy at centre-half back. Wants to kick it to the outer side, to Hollands. He chips it to Walsh, who was broken at half-forward for the Blues. He can take a bounce, he can approach 50. He looks up ahead and kicks into the pocket. Dropping the mark is Dale, is picked up by Keith. He gives it to Jones from the left back pocket for the Dogs. Sends it out wide. Williams against Hollands. Hollands with the fist. Down to Walsh. Take 2. Hand passes over his head to Hollands. And now backwards to Hewitt, who goes back to Hollands. They're still at half forward, the Blues. Kicks inside forward 50, and they've got a mark. Taking the diving mark is Matt Owies. He's got it 45 out from goal, 45-degree angle to the right.
Drop the eyes again, Bully. Drop the eyes. Nothing wrong with dropping the eyes and kicking to the smalls. If your tall's not doing it, the little fellas need to go to work, but you've got to reward them if they're hitting up.
Just work rate again, wasn't it, from Sam Walsh? 100-metre run on the angle there. And young Hollands too, we know he's got the massive tank. He's working his way into the game as well.
Matt Owies kicked a goal in the second quarter. This for 2 in a row to the Blues to get them back in the game. He's got it! Salutes to the crowd to get them fired up. The margin is cut to 20. The Dogs 6-7-43 to Carlton 3-5-23 6:14 played. Third term on Grandstand AFL. Luke Ball and Brent Harvey. Here they come.
I'm starting to see Carlton get the ball outside the stoppages. They're starting to hold their width a little bit more and giving that handball out so they can run a little bit further. I'm not sure they were doing that in the first half. I didn't really notice it, but the last 2 or 3 stoppages, I've noticed holding width, especially Doherty, who's up on the wing. Get the ball outside of the Bulldogs. You know, a little congestion there. They love it so much in there.
Interesting, Matt always took the opportunity, Bally, to just pull the monogram on the jumper. I wasn't quite expecting that to be that kind of goal, but doing something to try and lift the Carlton faithful. At least now they trail by less points than they've scored tonight. So 20 points is the deficit. Out of the middle goes the Bulldogs, though, as Smith gets a hurried kick down to centre half forward. Chincotta for Carlton. Hand pass to Chera. Handball away to McGovern. Hurried kick for the Blues out to the City wing. Here's Kennedy. Short kick turnover. Richards takes the intercept mark for the Bulldogs. Bangs it back down to half forward. Wiedering in a wrestle with Norton. Wiedering brings it to ground. Arnie Jones hits it hard. He's tackled by Wiedering. Ball spits out. Still half forward for the Dogs. McRae, hand pass to Williams. Handball to turnover. Wiedering's got it. He's tackled. It's Wiedering's and Waitman's, and they got a ball up. Half forward here.
It's Mackay's.
Half forward for the Bulldogs. Up it goes. 15 minutes into the third. Dogs by 20.
Spills to Cripps, who hooks it around the corner, tumbling down the line and out of play for a throw-in.
5 unanswered goals, by the way, for the Brisbane Lions now in the third term. So time on third quarter, Brisbane by 22 over Essendon after trailing by 10 at half-time.
Dogs by 20 here. Blues for the last 2. Ball in on the wing, outer side, lob against Pitternet. Controls it down. Cripps, hand passes to Chera. Gives it off to Walsh from the centre square. Kicks inside the Curnow.
What has this been?
Now the Blues fans are up and about. Charlie Curnow marks. 45 out from goal. Slide angle to the left.
Oh, it's lovely clearance work, isn't it? You throw in there, cross half back. That's training drill stuff. Just flicked around by hands. They've been sharper, haven't they? They've just been sharper with their hands. And as you said, Boom, that handball to release Walsh out into space. Takes his space. Beautiful kick to Curnow on the lead.
This for his first goal of the night, and to get the Blues fans roaring.
Oh, jeez.
Misses to the right. Margin those cut to 19. The Dogs 6-7-43 to the Blues. 3-6-24. 16 played third term.
Bailey Dale up to his 22nd touch. Equal leader on the ground with Ed Richards. Goes short to Bailey Smith.
The Dogs might just take a bit of the sting out of the game here, just realising that.
Oh no, kicks it out wide for Dale, missed him. Dale tried to keep it alive. Cottrell, hand pass to Durden, heads top of the goal square. Keith, double fister, punches it away, and in the end it floats out of bounds. So no rush behind, and a dangerous stoppage here in front of the Carlton goal.
So why isn't that deliberate?
Pressure there though, you'd like to see Mark that, and he usually would, Alex Keith. So real pressure now on the Dogs. Crowd absolutely getting involved.
The Carlton home game, another big roll-up. All wanting for a reason to scream in support of their Blues. From the boundary throw-in, comes down to Liberatore, kicks to centre half back. Here's Hewitt, grabs it, tackled, took a while to release. Pack forms around him. Says, I'll have it. Ball up, true centre half forward for Carlton. Dogs by 19, 18 minutes gone, third term.
Lob against Pitternet. Smith scrubs a kick inside the centre square. Picked up by Sard, who bangs it to full forward. It gets out the back. Always Jones right on the last line of defence, knocks it through for a minor. They're creeping closer, Carlton. Margin 18. The Dogs 6-7-43 to 3-7-25. 18 played third term.
This is better by the Blues. Time in forward half will be huge at the minute for the third quarter.
Oh, Dale heads wide with the kick out. Wanted Duray, pokes it down the line. Turnover. Newman intercepts. Hands it away to Kennedy. Short kick wide to Mackay. He marks. 51 out, just in from the boundary line, right half forward.
Well, he's certainly too far out to snap from here, so might as well release the shackles and have a crack at it.
Takes advantage of the stand rule and then unloads with a drop punt to the goal square. It carries everyone. Hollands at the back. It's helped through on the behind line by Liam Jones.
That's not a great kick, that one, though, Brawley, because it lands 2 or 3 metres out from the goal line, and it's so easy to defend for the Bulldogs. They got numbers back, and they just punch the ball through. They get the possession of the ball again. That's either got to go 20 metres out so they can't punch it through, or you're having a genuine shot.
Western Bulldogs by 17, 19 minutes gone in the third term.
Dale straight up the corridor from the kick in, looking for Keith. Knocked away from him by Chera, who gets Brute to ball. It's alive inside forward 50 for the Blues. Owies to Hewitt. A big goal. The Blues have got 3 in a row. And the margin is 11. Bulldogs 6-7, 43, leading Carlton 4-8, 32. As we enter time on of the third quarter on Grandstand AFL, Luke Ball and Brent Harvey.
Just the pressure again. In third, perceived. However you want to put it, Bailey Dales had a pretty good night, had most possessions on the ground, but just biting off a little bit more than potentially the game, the situation of the game required anyway. That kick had to be perfect. And just again, had a little bit too much loft on it. 40-metre kick from the kick in straight down the corridor. I don't know who it was it Hollands who just got there to spoil, and nice finish from Hewitt.
That's twice. That's twice now, because we see Bailey Smith do one probably 3 or 4 minutes ago. It nearly cost them a goal as well. So some little mistakes creeping into the Dogs.
Dogs need us to stand up.
They kicked 1 goal for 2.5 quarters. The Blues have kicked 3 in 9 minutes. Back in the middle of the ground, no clean takeaway. Off the back of the square, Geray grabs the Sharon, kicks it to centre half forward for the Bulldogs. Waitman down there in a 1-on-1 with Chincotta. Akers lends a hand, taps it down to Chincotta. Hand pass away to Wiedering. There was a free kick, advantage applied. He kicks it down the wing. G. Johannesson threw that out to Baker, spills to Durden. Baker with the follow-up tackle, and it skids off his boot and out of bounds. A throw in front of the Dogs bench. Right on the broadcast wing, Bulldogs by 11 points. I know Ben Cameron pointed this out a few weeks ago, but nice touch, Oscar Baker, number 13. Baker's dozen. So I don't know if that's by design, but I kind of like it.
Ball back into play, English. Taps it down straight to Cripps, who's turned it over to Daniel. Hand passes to English, who gives it to Johannesson from centre wing, broadcast side. He sends it to half forward. Waitman in a 1-on-1 against Sard. He reels in the one-hander.
Right.
Excellent grab.
Out of position there, Cody Waitman. Hasn't been great tonight, only 4 touches.
Sard down the line, pinpoint to Cripps. He can wheel and go, directs it to half forward. Silvani's the target, knocked away from him by Gardner. Ball out of play. Throw in left half forward for Carlton. They've kicked the last 3 goals of the game to trail the Dogs by 11.
Interesting week. Lost 3 of their last 4. Still inside the top 8, Carlton.
Bontempelli marking Cripps. Both haven't had great nights to this point.
Chasing the game here. Dogs by 11, but Carlton have kicked the last 3. From the boundary throw-in, Pitternet wins the hit out. Bontempelli bangs it down the wing. Waitman and Chincotta tangle in the air. It carries them both. It's out on the full, but the umpire, the field umpire's picked a free kick. It's in the back. Going Waitman's way. Free kick for the Dogs. Against Chincotta. Dogs by 11. 22 gone, third term. As Waitman kicks it down the line, wants Jamara, spoiling over the back. McGovern forces the neutral ball. It's out of play. 60 out from the Bulldogs goal.
Been pretty good tonight, McGovern. Kept Jamara pretty quiet.
Up at the Gabba, 17-point lead for Brisbane, so 5 goals to 1 in the third term, which is almost over. So approaching three-quarter time, Lions by 17 over the Bombers.
Throwing it half forward for the Western Bulldogs. Liberatore wins the footy. It's on the left. It's high up and under towards half forward. Sitting underneath it is Williams. He's marked just inside the arc. Has Baker streaming inside forward 50, but Williams says I'm going to go back and have a look.
I wasn't supposed to go there. It was a bit of a shank from Libba, but Bailey Williams, it's the advantage of having a bit of size about you as a wingman, isn't it? Drifting back and supporting your defence, and then just able to use his size and strength to nudge Ollie Hollands under the ball, and it's in pretty good hands for Dog supporters, it must be said.
Bailey Williams will kick it all of 50 metres. Right at centre half forward, he fires towards goal. It's away to the left. Margin 12 points. Western Bulldogs 6-8-44 to Carlton 4-8-32. 23 played. Third term on Grayson AFL.
And Williams gets that opportunity on the back of Libba. Yes, he passed him the ball, but it was the work he was doing on Cripps before that.
Oh, McGovern comes out wide, trying to hit Newman. Baker got a hand on it, spills to Hollands. Hand pass back to Newman, so Carlton maintain possession. Hand pass to Hewitt. Long kick down to half forward, and Keith leaves his man. Comes in from the side to take the intercept mark. The Dogs a chance to rebound off the back flank. Swings his kick to Bontempelli. Long, beautiful drop punt across the square. Got it to Williams eventually, despite the Sard spoil. Looks for Jamara. Down there with Norton. They got in each other's way. Ball bounces off Jamara's chest. Comes down to the Blues. McGovern, hand pass away to Wiedering. Hurried kick out wide for Carlton. Bouncing footy close to the boundary line. It's out of play. 50 out from the Bulldogs' goal. Left half forward.
Lob should be filthy. He was leading up. He had the opportunity just to drop it. It was a 20-metre short kick, the easiest kick in football.
Yep.
And Lob has a shot on goal. But yet, they want to go to 15 metres out from goal again.
Ball in at half forward for the Dogs. English rises high, palms it down to Daniel. Had a fumble. Kennedy comes in for the Blues. He can't trap it. It spills to Akers. He gets boot to ball. Hooks it around the corner. That's a great mark to Duray.
Good Duray.
Chips it short to McRae, who's marked left half forward. Blues have numbers back. Lob, Ugle-Hagan and Norton all hunting around. Full forward, it goes in there now. Off hands, out the back as Akers tracks it to the line, out of play. Throw in 15 metres around from the Dogs' goal. They lead by 12, 25 played, third term.
Three-quarter time at the Gabba. Brisbane by 17, having trailed by 10 at half-time against Essendon. As Jess mentioned, a 2-goal game here the Bulldogs' way, but Carlton have kicked the last 3. Boundary throw-in deep forward for the Western Bulldogs. Comes down to Wiedering. Hurried kick out of the defensive arc, but chopped off. And Johannesson marks.
That's that setting up your defence behind the ball. This is the repeat inside 50.
Just about every player in front of him. 60 out from the Dogs' goal. Kicks to the hot spot. Hands on it there from Pitternet. Falls down to Jamara. Hooks a kick goal with misses. Near side or behind. The Bulldogs by 13. 26 gone third turn.
Dogs got out to a game-high 31-point lead earlier in this quarter. Blues have hit back with the last 3. A few minutes left before three-quarter time. McGovern with the kicking duties. Kicks it to the dockside wing, and Owies is marked just inside the field of play. Chips it forward to Cottrell, not the required distance. Play on is the call. Cottrell wheels around and kicks it in the Kai direction. Great use of the body from Liam Jones, just bumped him underneath it. Takes the mark in front of the Dogs bench. Send it back the other way. Bombs it long, inside 50. Bontempelli has a run to it. It spills to Waitman. His hand pass looking for Ugle-Hagan is a turnover. Newman to Sard. And now Akers loops the hand pass over the top to Cottrell up against the boundary line. Lob gets a hand in there and sends it over the line for a throw in it. Between where the 50-metre line intersects the boundary. Dogs into attack. They lead by 13.
Just need to hang on here, the Blues. They look a bit gassed. They've done a lot of work to get back into the game this quarter. Dogs have been threatening the last couple of minutes, repeat inside 50s. Need a goal, really, the Dogs, don't they?
13-point lead for the Bulldogs. Waning moments, third turn. Boundary throwing. English wins the hit out. Liberatore scrapping forward on his knees. Hands it out to Bailey Smith. Kicks to the hot spot. Young spoils, though, for the Blues. Ripped down by Johannesson. He knocks it away to Bontempelli. Hand pass goes back to McRae. Fighting through traffic. Got a handball out, but retreating. The Bont's onto it again. Swings it off his preferred left peg to the top of the goal square. It hits the deck. Sard's there. He rushes it through from behind. Safely carries it through. Conceding a minor score, the Bulldogs now by 14 points. 28 gone third term.
3 consecutive behinds now to the Dogs. Sard will restart play in the defensive goal square. Boots it long. Curno's going to run at this. Knocked away by Jones.
Ooh.
Dale. Yeah, it's a throw, a bit of a shovel out to Baker. The umpire spotted it. It's a free kick to the Blues and 50 as Baker kicked it inside 50.
That was like an inadvertent flick pass, like the rugby league.
So Harry Mackay is going to be marched to half forward. Inside the centre square. Again, the fans urge him to kick it long and quick into the pocket. Jones got a fist in there. It's going to trickle out of play for a throw in. 30 around from the Blues goal. Margin is 14 points the way the Dogs. 28 played third term.
Neither sub used. Ed Curnow for Carlton, and it's Lockie McNeil again for the Bulldogs. 8 of their 9 games, it's either been McComb, McNeil or McLean, the sub for the Bulldogs. Sounds like a fast food menu. And the boundary throw-in. Pitternet wins the hit out for Carlton. Close to the boundary line. It's knocked away by Liberatore. Stays in, back pocket. Got it for the Dogs. Hand pass to Keith under pressure. Or Keith runs into a dead end. Hands it back to Libba. Floats a kick to half-back. Flying in the air, Saad, no mark. Falls down to Oscar Baker. Runs, carries. Hand pass off half-back to Scott. Links up with McRae. Not a heap up ahead. Back to Baker. Motlop coming to get him. Huge tackle, Motlop.
Great chase.
Chase down tackle, wins it back for Carlton in the middle of the ground. He heads wide to Mackay, who marks on the wing.
Bombs it long into the arc. Curno's in there. English got hands to it, couldn't complete the mark. It spills to Charlie Curno, who dribbles through. An incredible goal. His first of the night. Fourth in a row to the Blues. The margin is 8 points. Western Bulldogs, 6-10-46 to Carlton, 5-8-38. 30 played, third term on Grandstand AFL. Luke Ball and Brett Harvey are your experts.
Well done to Charlie Curnow getting the goal. It was a decent goal for a big guy, but hats off to young Jesse Motlop. Fantastic chase. Baker was actually out. He actually had to turn a pace. He was fast. He was good. He was taking a bounce, and Motlop came out of nowhere. So well done, Jesse. I hope they reward you for that on Monday on the Vision, buddy.
That was a massive, big moment in the game. So Bulldogs missed 3 in a row at one end. Goes down the other end. Carlton kick goal.
Yeah, it must be said. Tim English just let one slip through the hands as well. Just a bit of fatigue late in the third quarter. So all things going the Blues' way at the moment.
Game on in the stroke at three-quarter time. Bulldogs by 8 points, having led by 31 earlier in the term. English wins the hit out, forced to follow up the tackle on Kennedy. Pack forms behind him as Cripps and Liberatore hold it in.
5 goals kicked in the first half between the two teams, Corbin.
Yeah.
6 in this quarter.
Started to open up. The Carlton fans have something to cheer about. Down it comes to Cripps, trying to get his team going. Hand pass to Cottrell. Big sweep in. Polyfarmer. Hand pass out to half forward. Doherty collects. Dale's got him. Ball comes to Walsh. Hand pass along the line, and Doc Gerard knocks it out of bounds. In front of Michael Voss, who leads his coaching team out. And be a little happier. Carlton starting to get their game up and going, and got a boundary throw in. 60 out from the Carlton goal at left half forward. 32 minutes into the third term, Bulldogs by 8.
Pitternet wrestles with English and then gets caught, but manages to get boot to ball, not the required distance as Dale collects, is brought to ground by Doherty. Umpire says, I'll have it. Ball up at half forward for Carlton.
Hands were free there. Could have nearly been a free kick.
Dogs by 8. From the stoppage, Bontempelli beautifully gives the hands to English, who kicks to the wing through the fingertips of Waitman, who tackles Newman. Umpire says play on, picked up by Saad. Hand passes defensive leader McGovern. Chips it inboard to Kennedy. His hand pass off to Chincotta from the centre of Docklands. Kicks the Blues into attack. Mackay couldn't complete the mark as Duray hacks it out of there. Carlton have made their move in the third quarter, and we have a contest at the last change. Western Bulldogs lead by 8 points, 6-10-46 to the Blues, 5-8-38. Your goal kickers for the Western Bulldogs, 2 each to Rory Lobb and Anthony Scott, 1 each to Aaron Norton and Jason Johannesson. And for the Blues, all singles, Corey Durden, George Hewitt, Charlie Curnow, and 2 to Matt Owies.
Now that the scoreboard's started to move, it's well set up ahead of this final term. So 4 in a row for the Dogs either side of half-time, and then Carlton answering with 4 of their own. The big storyline in recent times around the Bulldogs have been how they faded late in games as well. So they're actually the lowest scoring final quarter team in the game through the first 8 rounds. They averaged just 16 final quarter points this season. They're ahead here. They lead by 8 points. Carlton have kicked the last 4 of the game, so perfectly set up. Meanwhile, up in Brisbane, start of the final term, it is the Lions by 16 points over Essendon. The thoughts of Luke Ball and Brett Harvey in just a moment on ABC Radio, Sport Digital, and through the ABC Listen app. You're listening to Grandstand AFL.
For extreme entertainment, stream comedy whenever you like on ABC iView. That's so cool. Extreme feel-goods with Ghosts, Ronnie Cheng, international student, and Summer Love.
Never hold back, kids.
Extreme funnies from the Melbourne International Comedy Festival.
That means a lot.
And extreme good times with Starstruck, Peep Show, and Fisk.
Why would you say that?
Yeah, I don't know. It's extreme comedy gold.
So cool.
And you can stream it all for free on ABC iView.
Grandstand AFL. AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Rory Lobb gets a look at it here, right half forward. He'll kick from right on the 50-metre arc. It's close to the man on the mark. No problems. Pulls the trigger straight through. The Dogs have now got 3 on the bounce. Comes down to the Dogs through Daniel. Short kick to Norton. He marks in the centre square. Lobb screaming for it at right half forward. Kicked out in front of him. Lobb marks. Same channel. Right half forward. He has a chance to double up in a matter of minutes. So Rory Lobb, he's 10 metres closer. Same spot. Right half forward. Same result. Lobb does it again.
4 in a row to the Dogs. Carlton desperately need this from Corey Durden, and it's got the distance. They get one back, the Blues. And now backwards to Hewitt, who goes back to Hollands. They're still at half forward, the Blues. Kicks inside forward 50, and they've got a mark. Taking the diving mark is Matt Owies. Matt Owies kicked a goal in the second quarter. This for 2 in a row to the Blues to get them back in the game. He's got it. Dale straight up the corridor from the kick in, looking for Keith. Knocked away from him by Chera, who gets through to ball. It's alive inside forward 50 for the Blues. Owies to Hewitt. A big goal. Bombs it long into the arc. Curno's in there. English got hands to it. Couldn't complete the mark. It spills to Charlie Curno, who dribbles through. An incredible goal.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
Dogs by 31 earlier in the third term. They lead by just 8 as we turn for home at three-quarter time. Carlton with the last 4 goals in the game. Off the SMS, 0437 774 774. Anthony from Wild Dog Valley. I'm sitting outside in front of the fire pit. Stars are plenty and listening to the footy. I'm a big fan of Ballie's raspy tones. He should do audio books.
Never heard that before. Thank you, Anthony, from Wild Dog Valley. We did have to look up where that was, and I'm going to have to visit that now, Wild Dog Valley. How good's that? South Gippsland?
South Gippsland, 105 k's from
How
Melbourne.
good's that?
Go down and do a little sporty for him.
Yeah, great fire pit night too. Under the stars. Magnificent listening to the footy. And, well, thank goodness we've got a game for him, finally. Boomer, it took till probably halfway through that third quarter, because even at the start of that third quarter, the Dogs were in control, weren't they?
Yeah.
The first couple of goals with Rory Lobb, and you thought, this is a watch on what time the Carlton supporters start to make for the exit. But that almost spurred them into life a bit. And we saw that last week. It took until the last quarter against the Lions for them just to release the shackles a bit and get a bit more movement through stoppage going, take a bit more risks with the ball going through the corridor, and they were able to do that. And sure enough, they were able to get some marks inside 50. And you spoke about that money kick, that kick inside 50. They've been too bomby in that first half. They were able to lower their eyes, and it was Durden first, wasn't it, who went back and converted, and then it was young Owies got another one as well. So, and then that brilliant bit of play from Jesse Motlop, and sometimes that's what you need to do, don't you? Just need to make a big play like that, and it resulted in a goal when you're coming so far from behind. So we've got a ball game. It's great. Over to the Dogs now. Really, the challenge is with them, because the Blues were the ones that finished that quarter full of running, and we've spoken about how the Stars, potentially for both teams, in particular the Dogs, have been a little bit quiet. Well, now it's over to Bontempelli. I mean, Smith's had a pretty good game, I think, but Bontempelli, McRae, Liberatore, Waitman, who we know is capable of so much. Norton's been a really good battle, hasn't it, between him
it has.
And Wiedering, and what do they do with their sub? We'll wait and see. But, the challenges are over to the Dogs now.
And it was on the back of quicker ball movement. I mentioned earlier, I noticed that they were holding their width a little bit more at stoppages and getting the ball on the outside. We know how good the Bulldogs are on the inside, but if you can beat them there and get the ball on the outside, you're a much better chance. They got the ball on the outside and their ball movement was much quicker, and that gives the forwards a greater opportunity. So it's going to be really interesting, because Corbs, he mentioned it, the Bulldogs are number 18 for scores in the last quarters this year. So if the Blues are ever going to take their chances, tonight could be it, but the Bulldogs not going to roll over and let them have it. So fantastic that there were 6 goals kicked in that quarter, 5 in the first half, 6 in that quarter. So I think we got a game, and we get a little bit excited, Bally. The first half was a little bit dull. That quarter was much better.
Meanwhile, up in Brisbane, it is the Lions who lead that game by 28 points. So they've taken over after half-time, 7 goals to 1, having trailed Essendon by 10 at half-time. The Lions by 28, 9 minutes into the last. Game on here, Bulldogs by 8 points. We'll get down to Maisie in just a moment as the Final quarter starts. It's Pittinet who wins it down. Cripps gets a hand pass away. Out in front of Liberatore. He gets a handball to Bontempelli, so the Bulldogs can get the first thrust forward out in front of Artie Jones. Sard Sockers inadvertently ends up out of play. Says throw it in between wing and half forward for the Dogs. Andrew Mays on the boundary.
Blues have made their sub, so Ed Curnow into the game, and it's Ollie Hollins who's taking his spot at the back of the bench.
Thanks, Maisie. Of course, the sub's still up the sleeve of the Western Bulldogs, and Lockie McNeil is their sub. As we know from Luke Beveridge, he's not afraid not to use it.
Ball back into play. Cripps on the throw-in gets boot to ball. Tumbles towards the wing. It goes out of play. The umpire says insufficient intent.
Wow. I don't understand this rule. I do not understand it.
He was in the middle of a pack and he just wanted to scrub it forward and it just rolled out of play. Meanwhile, free kick to Williams, centre wing out of side. Thumps it to a big pack at half forward. It's off hands. Cripps dispossessed by Liberatore. And now English receive the hands from McRae. He hand passes to Jones. Lovely side step, but then goes to ground and is tackled by Cottrell. Holding the ball. Just tried a little too much there.
The first step was good, but second, third, and into trouble. Just probably bang it on the boot there, get to the top of the square.
All right, so free for Cottrell. He goes back to Wiedering. Well, dangerous kick headed to half-back. Liam Jones gets his fist in there, knocks it back to half-forward. Clever from Norton as he just whacks it out wide to Baker, trying to get back onto his right peg. Hooks the kick straight into Mackay. Ball ricochets back to Baker, retreats by hand to Jones, 70 out at half-forward. Hand pass to Joe Hannison. He kicks a loose kick into the pocket, and McGovern covers across to take the intercept mark. Back pocket for the Blues. Dogs by 8 points, 2 minutes into the final term.
McGovern can wind up, get as far as he can down the dockside wing. Pittinet in front position. Spills to ground. Kennedy can't keep it alive as Bontempelli applies the pressure. Ball out of play.
Wiedering was lucky in that last one because he just hesitated. He seen Mackay up there and he just hesitated to kick to him. Then he thought, yep, I'll go there. When you hesitate, Bully, it's too late. It's too fast, this game.
Ball in on the broadcast wing. Flicked back into play. English with the palm down. A Waitman. He's dispossessed. Ball squeezes out through the hands of Baker. He then turns tackler on Akers. And we've got a ball up in front of the interchange gates on the stock side of the ground. Dogs by 8 points. 3 minutes played, final term.
Both teams 4-4 in their final quarters so far this year. Carlton chasing the game. Bulldogs by 8. From the stoppage, Daniel picks it up but runs in the wrong direction. Hooks a kick back down to half forward. There's a push in the pack. It's a free kick against Pittinet. It's going to English. By half forward for the Bulldogs. We can head inside 50 again here to start this final term. We've had the first 3 entries. He kicks in the Norton direction. Spoilt by Young, comes down towards Bontempelli. Hand pass back inboard, trying to get it to Norton. Picked off by Sard. Oh, dangerous kick across the ground to the top of the defensive goal square. Wiedering makes it look clean. Mops it up, hand pass to Sard. Long kick to half back for Carlton.
Kicks to a one-on-one. Keith against Mackay. Gets out the back. Now it's another one-on-one. Richards against Young. Young, has he dived on it? No, the umpire says I'll have it. Ball up, centre wing out of side.
Very lucky Sard there. Very, very lucky.
It's Curnow, in fact, at the bottom of that pack.
It's a great chase too from Aaron Norton. He's got some wheels for a good fella, hasn't he?
Ball up on the wing. Kennedy hand passes to Pittinet. Couldn't get boot to ball. It's picked up by Waitman. He hand passes to Jones. Hand passes to Bontempelli. Finds some room to move. There's a free kick off the ball. It's coming back. As the Dogs went inside 50, but it's got to come back to half forward. Free kick to Bont.
I feel like he has to have a big last quarter here, the Bont, for the Dogs to go on and win it. Started well.
He has started well.
It's pretty crowded forward 50. Bontempelli from centre half forward. Norton comes out. He can't collect. Spills to Akers. He hand passes to Young. Close up against the boundary line. Lob tackles him. Young gets the hand passed out. And the Blues can exit defensive 50. Silvani can't keep it alive. Ball out of play.
Again, just holding up against repeat inside 50s here. The Blues defence doing a good job, similar to that third quarter.
Carlton have kicked the last 4 goals of the game. In the back end of that third term, no goal as yet through the first 5 minutes of the last. Dogs by 8 points from the boundary throw-in. McRae tackled immediately. Ball spits out back into traffic. Hewitt, hand pass to Cripps. Darting through the stoppage, gets a little kick forward, but straight to Daniel. Hand pass to Baker, sends the Bulldogs inside 50. They come from all directions. Spoiled away by Young, spills down to Wiedering. He just bangs it out of there. Up to the wing. Kerno, that's Charlie, reaching over the top, can't take the mark, falls down to Cripps. Slick hands to Kennedy, squeezes the kick out, finds Akers. In front of the interchange gates, heads to Durden, outnumbered, outsized, and whacked away by Richards. Boundary throw in here, 55 out from the Carlton goal. Andrew Mays on the boundary.
So McNeil comes on for the Dogs. That sub just activated as he enters the field now. O'Donnell the man to make way.
Thanks, Maisie. So both subs made. O'Donnell out, McNeil in. Holland's out, Ed Kerno in.
No score yet in this final term. Dogs by 8 points from the throw-in. McRae. Great kick off the boot and doesn't go 15 as Doherty was caught high, so he'll get the free kick. Right half forward for Carlton. A lot of numbers inside 50. Called to move it on now. Doherty shoots the pass into the pocket. That's a beautiful kick, and Harry Mackay's taken the mark.
This will be interesting.
So he's about 5 metres in from the boundary, 45-ish out from goal. So pretty tough angle.
Too far to snap, isn't it?
Way too far to snap. So Paddy Ryder's the only one that can snap from the junction.
He did try and snap around the corner from directly in front earlier in the game and sprayed it. So Harry Mackay lining up for the drop punt, right on the boundary, 50 out, sends it on its way, and it's just missed to the right-hand side for a minor. Margin is 7 points. Dogs 6-10-46 to Carlton 5-9-39. 7 minutes played. Final term. It's our first score of the final term.
Where do you see this wrestle goalie? What are you thinking?
I've got the sense that, I mean, the Bulldogs' avenues to goal are really dried up, haven't they? They're all of a sudden they're really looking, really struggling to score. So the Blues might just have the last go at them here with those key forwards.
Since the Dogs led by 31 points in that second term, it's 4 behinds to 4 goals 4. So Carlton obviously clawing their way back into the game. Gee, the kick out of the defensive half is not a good one. It's turned over by Williams, kicks it straight to Doherty, who marks in that City wing. So a forward 50 thrust here for Carlton. Big leap. Owies goes up, can't rip it down. Trying to claim the mark back there. The ump says no. Gardner felt like he had enough of it. The ump says it was touched on the way through. A ball up.
That's where you want Kerno or Mackay launching at that footy, don't you? Not Matthew Owies.
Forward pocket for Carlton. Silvani goes up, wins it down, and then becomes tackler as he locks up McRae. And another ball up. Repeat stoppages inside that forward 50. 20 out from the Carlton goal. Dogs by 7. 8 gone, final term.
Silvani against English, who palms it down. Now it spills to Johannesson, who cuts it out of the danger zone. It was touched, so the mark won't be paid, and it's going to be a ball up. Centre half forward for Carlton. Silvani again wrestles with English. Waitman has a go. Couldn't find his boot. Walsh underneath it all. Liberatore emerges with it. Gives it to Bontempelli from centre half back. Kicks it straight down the corridor over the head of Ugelhagen. And he's got the free kick. Ugelhagen. Might have been for a hold, perhaps, in the marking contest.
Lobs on side in the goal square area. Should have went there.
Ugelhagen goes short to Liberatore, who takes the diving mark. He's just outside 50.
Still on.
Still got it. Got to go there. Just kick it there.
Liberatore now measures the pass to a dangerous position at the top of the square. Lob charged at it. Off hands. Chera to Owies. Now to Walsh. Inside defensive 50. Hand passes to Cottrell from left half back. Kicks down the line. Kerno's in a one-on-one against Keith. He's got his hand in there. English comes in for support. Kerno picks it up. Gives it to Motlop. Gets around Johannesson. Hand passes to Doherty. At left half forward, hand passes inboard to Cripps, who lowers his eyes inside the arc and finds the target in Matt Owies, who marks 48 metres out from goal.
Big kick in the scheme of this. This is good. This is exciting again.
Big contest down the wing, wasn't it? Kerno and Keith. Kerno just able to hang in against two. It wasn't until the reinforcements came. That was the big win. Motlop involved. Doherty's been good tonight too.
Matt Owies, 2 goals this evening. This, the biggest kick of the night. The Blues fans erupt. Carlton are within a point. The Dogs 6:10:46, Carlton 6:9:45, 10 minutes played, final term on Grandson AFL, Luke Ball and Brent Harvey.
Is that his third?
That's his third.
That's his third. That's all you want as a small forward.
Yeah, he's a good kick, isn't he?
2 or 3 goals each week from a small forward. You've done a really, really good job. The possessions don't matter. You can have 3 possessions and kick 3 goals. You've nearly been the difference on the ground tonight, young Owies. I tell you what, as a forward, you crave one-on-ones, Bally. You just crave one-on-ones. Today's game, you very rarely get them unless you're moving the ball super fast. And Rory Lobb had the mismatch as well on Sard. All they had 2 opportunities to get the ball into him. His hand was up, and 9 times out of 10 he's going to beat Sard in the air. He'd be filthy with the boys not getting it into him. In the result, slingshot football, Carlton win. Oh, he kicks another goal.
The Dogs kicked 6 of the first 7. Carlton have kicked the last 5 unanswered. It's a 1-point game again under the roof at Docklands. Free kick for a hold in the middle. Pittenet's getting it. Free kick for Carlton. Dogs by a point. Haven't kicked a goal in the second half. Pittenet sends a helicopter to centre half forward. No mark as expected. Free kick for a hold, and the Bonks going to get it. Centre half back in that marking contest. Short kick to Liberatore. The Dogs get something going on the slingshot. Not a great kick. Kick favours Akers. Paddles it out in front of himself. He can't pick it up. Trying to bend down to gather it for the Blues. Now a scrap on for the footy. Chera jumps on top of it. Extracts it. Hand pass back to the wing. Motlop with pace. Heading in the wrong direction. Hand pass down towards Liam Jones. Jones caught. Ball comes out. Up says play on. Richards hurried kick to the wing. Waitman takes the mark. His kick smothered. Back in the centre square. Waitman gets a second go.
This time he hits a target, and Norton, who's all alone at left half forward, can turn and go. Hand passes to Oscar Baker from the pocket. Kicks across the face of goal, but it's a mark. Anthony Scott has marked in the right forward pocket close to the boundary.
Right spot for a left footer too. Just needed some composure from someone then, didn't it? It was bouncing around, there was Smothers, there was Spoils, and in the end it was Waitman with the composure to hit Norton on his left foot.
Anthony Scott for his third of the night.
Ooh.
Big miss to the left-hand side. Marching 2 points the way of the Western Bulldogs. 6:11:47 to 6:9:45. 13 travelled final term.
Their last 5 scores, the Bulldogs all behind. So when they led by 31 points, they were 6-6. They're now 6-11. Dogs by 2. McGovern from the kick out drives it up to the wing. Mackay competes in the air, spills down to Durden. Hand pass to Walsh, he lets it bounce. Durden goes back, collects it again. Hand pass to Kennedy, caught, dispossessed, holding the ball.
He missed the first option.
Trying to walk through the 2-man tackle, and Giray and Waitman stop him in his tracks. Logo broadcast wing. Waitman comes out wide. Doherty in the box seat. Spoils uncontested. He was the only man who went up, knocked it out of bounds, and now we've got a throw-in half forward for the Bulldogs. Dogs lead the game by 2. Carlton have kicked the last 5 goals. The Dogs' last goal came at the 7-minute mark of the third term. Bulldogs now by just 2.
It's hard to see who's got the momentum here. Little momentum shifts, isn't there? Carlton had the first 3 or 4 minutes. Bulldogs have had the last 3 or 4 minutes.
Pittenet got rid of Lobb in the ruck, and then hand passes to Hewitt. Gets out of traffic nicely, hooks the ball around the corner. Contest on the wing. Curnow flies from behind. And now picks it up at ground level. McRae tackles him at 360, but Curnow got the hand pass out to Kennedy, who gives it to Durden, who kicks it towards half forward. Cottrell is marked, looks inboard to the corridor and hits Walsh. Sam Walsh can line up for a shot on goal to put Carlton in front.
What a kick for Sammy. There's one little knock on his game. I reckon it's his kick and balling. He's probably so knackered because he's ran so hard. But he doesn't get the opportunity to be fresh and kick the ball, but he needs to go back and finish here.
Sam Walsh, 30 metres out. Carlton are in front of Docklands. 6 in a row to the Blues. And the fans under the roof are going nuts. Carlton by 4, 7:9:51 to the Dogs, 6:11:47. 15 travelled final term on Grandson AFL. Luke Ball and Brent Harvey, your experts.
It's good to see him still here, Jess. The fans are still here for the Blues. Fantastic to see.
That was Anthony Scott, wasn't it? The missed opportunity down at one end, and man, just some good clearance work. Just as the game's gone on, the Blues, or this quarter in particular, just starting to get on top around the clearances. George Hewitt, Woody, a crucial hard ball there, and then Charlie Curnow here on the wing. He got slung, probably just one rotation short of being holding the ball. Got the handball over the top. Jesse Motlops looked dangerous, hasn't he, this quarter with his speed?
And I think it was Durden too in front of us. He took the space. He could have went over the top, but it was a really nice kick down towards the boundary line. Really well done.
6 in a row for the Blues, and all of a sudden they're in front for the first time tonight. A 4-point lead. Cripps with a centre break. Kicks out to the front edge of the centre square. Doherty inadvertently knocks it away, but straight to Akers. Carlton keeping possession at the moment. Hand pass away to Doherty. Short kick to Kennedy. Hand pass back to Akers. He's bowled over and lost it. Now English. Hand pass releases Artie Jones. Gets tripped in the middle by Saad. Saad was on the ground and tried to stop Jones in his tracks. Got him below the leg and a free kick. He heads out wide to Dale. Now it's the Dogs who have got to answer back. Heads to half forward. Bailey Smith goes at it one-handed, no mark. Falls through to Young, the former Bulldog. Sends the Blues down the wing, and Bailey Dale makes ground late, knocks it out of bounds, and we'll get a boundary throw-in on the wing. Carlton by 4 points. They've kicked the last 6 goals of the game, having trailed by 31, 7 minutes into the third quarter. 7 minutes into the third quarter, down 31. They now lead it 17 gone in the last by 4.
Ball spun back into play. Victoria attacks the contest, gets boot to ball, scrubs it forward. Saad spins away beautifully, gives it to Young, who kicks it down the line. Akers in the contest, got hands to it, couldn't complete the mark. Tackled by Williams over the line. Thrown in front of the interchange gates on the dockside wing. Carlton by 4, the last 6 in a row. They were 31 points down in that third quarter. They've turned it around here under the roof.
It was the same old Carlton for large parts tonight. Halfway through the third, just the one goal is all they'd kicked for almost 30 inside 50s. And since then, they've managed to put 6 in a row past the Bulldogs. Boundary throw in, Kennedy to Newman, tackled by McNeil. Ball comes back to Kennedy, fights through the tackle. Ump says, you had long enough. Holding the ball, free kick Bulldogs. And McRae will get it on the wing.
It's got to be composed here, the Dogs. Got to think their way through it, find an avenue to goal.
Still plenty of time. Carlton by 4. Kicks to a contest at half forward. Carries the pack. McGovern running back onto it. Misses it. Saad, a little deaf soccer. Away to Wiedering. Wiedering's tackled out of play by Artie Jones. And a boundary throw in. Half forward for the Bulldogs. 4-point lead for Carlton. They've kicked the last 6 in the game.
Cody Waitman here is either one to get on the move through the stoppage. Artie Jones.
Ball in at half forward for the Dogs. English palms it down. Cripps gets through a tackle, sends a high ball into the centre square. It's marked by Richards. He can send the Dogs forward. He flares it out wide to Williams, who's marked all alone at left half forward. Hand passes inboard to Liberatore, who gets boot to ball. He sends it towards goal. Liberatore!
Oh, what a goal!
A bit of magic from Liber. And the Dogs are back in front. 7-11-53 to Carlton, 7-9-51. 19 played final term. It is the Dogs' first goal since the 7-minute mark of the third. Breaks a run of 6 in a row to the Blues.
And he's just come off to the bench too. He looks absolutely stuffed, Liber. He's done a heap of work inside. That was a great finish, wasn't it? I think those little legs had it in him, but great finish.
24 possessions, 10 tackles. He's really stood out with his intensity around the contest tonight. I mentioned the Blues just started to look a bit bigger and stronger and getting on top around the clearance. Liber was brilliant. McRae involved there. Bontempelli's, he's back on the ground now. I was going to say he's off just for that one final rest before he heads back out there for the last 7 minutes. And you feel like the big guns are going to have a say in this last 7 minutes, don't you, Boomer? In a result.
Certainly hope so.
Big night for Liberatore. Second lead change. They both come 2 lead changes of the last 2 goals. Back in the middle, Daniel receives a handball and he's tackled straight away. So 6 in a row for Carlton, led by 4 points. For the first time tonight, they held the lead for 4 minutes. And Liberatore snatches it back. Bulldogs by 2. 19 gone final term. Walsh from the stoppage. Kicks inside 50. Curnow leaping up, takes the mark. Centre half forward for the Baggers.
It was a bit unorthodox, that grab, wasn't it? Sort of jumped high and took it to the side.
Felt like he jumped higher than the ball. But
sort of
had the ball, took it below his head on the way down.
His hands have looked sticky tonight, though, haven't they? Every time he's got a decent one-on-one or a bit of separation from Keith or Jones, he's looked likely. Hasn't kicked that well, though, for goal.
He's got one so far tonight. Biggest kick of the evening on the drop pump. Curnow turns the lead around. Carlton back in front. A second for Charlie Curnow. And that's why you pay the key forwards the big bucks. Carlton by 4 points. 8-9 to 7-11. 20 gone final term.
Yeah, it's a good call. That's right. That's a big-time play, isn't it? It made something out. I mean, it was a mongrel kick. Sam Walsh did well to extract the ball from the clearance and mongrel it forward. And you're right. That's what you need your big key forward, your big gun to do. Realise the moment. It was almost Carey-like, dare I say. But just came out and took a terrific mark and then go back and go bang. Never in doubt from 50. And really, it's been... Sorry, the second half in particular, the Dogs haven't been able to do that at their end. Norton hasn't been able to do that. Lobb hasn't been able to do that. Still time. 6.5 minutes.
We've got the contest. We wanted to see time on final quarter. Margin 4 points the way the Blues from the restart. Smith can send the Dogs into attack. Newman with the big fist, but it spills to Artie Jones. Gets on the right foot. The snap towards goal. It's brilliant.
What a goal.
Artie Jones has put the Dogs back in front. This game is electric. Western Bulldogs 8-11-59 to Carlton 8-9-57. 22 played final term on Grandson AFL. I didn't think I'd be using the word electric in the first half. Luke Paul and Brent Harvey.
Well, that's craft right there. That's the stuff that the boys practice at training. Getting the ball, boundary side, kicking right foot, kicking left foot. That's his craft. If he wants to be measured on something, that's a beautiful finish. That's what he needs to do for the rest of his career. Great goal, great timing.
We didn't have a lead change all night, Bally, and we've now had 4 in 7 minutes.
And again, 5 goals in this quarter as well. So 5 goals for the first half, like we mentioned earlier, 6 in the third, and 5 already in the last.
Exciting young player, isn't he? What I love is how hard he chases as well. He's just quick chasing an opponent as he is running downhill towards goal.
Pendulum swings back the Bulldogs' way. They lead it by 2 points. Back in the middle, another ball up.
It's amazing how the clearances, right now, clearances are everything. Walsh gets the last one, they kick the goal. Bailey Smith gets the next one, Bulldogs kick the goal.
Brisbane are going to beat Essendon, 6 goals up, time on final term. So we got the close one, Dogs by 2 here. McRae hand pass to Waitman, they get the centre clearance eventually. Out to half forward, Jamara competes in the air, spills down to Artie Jones. Kick the last to set up the next. He feeds Bailey Smith, who dumps it. Smith rushes straight to Jones. Gives him a big cuddle and the Bulldogs lead it by 8. There's plenty of life left in these Dogs. 23 gone final term. Bulldogs 9-11-65. Carlton 8-9-57. Dogs by 8 points.
Wow. Another clearance.
Clearance, great call. And it is clearance. That's right. Field position. Fatigue. There's jelly in the legs. Not for this bloke. He's been superb all night, Bailey Smith. Sam Walsh at one end, Bailey Smith, 2 of the stars from the Super Draft of a couple of years ago.
Both elite runners, Bally. Yeah. Both elite runners.
That's right. But Artie Jones again, just getting to the right spot, front and centre. He's been everywhere tonight. Goal, kicks the goal to put them back in front, and a goal assist to Bailey Smith, who now comes off for a breather.
26 disposals, 9 clearances, 4 inside 50s, and now a goal to Bailey Smith tonight.
Stepped up in the absence of Adam Treloar.
We're back in the middle. Daniel wins the clearance for the Dogs, sends it to half forward. Newman underneath it, couldn't complete the mark. Ed Kono, the sub, collects, kicks down the line. It's a tumbler. Silvani collects beautifully. And now Doherty. Hand passes inboard to Cripps in the middle of Docklands. Directs his pass in the Mackay direction. Good fist came from Gardner. Motlop collects. He's set upon immediately by Jones. Ball up inside 50 for Carlton. They trail the Dogs by 8.
Good one-on-one by Gardner to just bring the ball to ground. Just had to do it.
Dogs look like they were going to get swallowed up 5 minutes ago. They've kicked 3 of the last 4 since then. And it's the Bulldogs by 8 points, having fallen behind twice. 25 gone, final turn. Ball up centre half forward for the Blues. Whacked on twice. Eventually gets to Liberatore. Extracts it. Kicks it forward. Jamara's down there. Back with the flight. McGovern spills the mark. Tracking the footy. Norton. McGovern goes to ground. Artie Jones clean. Gets it for the Bulldogs. Hand pass to Lobb. Hand pass to Waitman. Kicks to Norton. Man free in the goal square. It's Jamara. Norton gets it to him. And Jamara marks 15 out. Just left of centre. And a chance to just about end the Blues night.
Artie Jones again.
Yeah, it's just that little
smart,
just touch, just clean. Bully, just clean. That's a difference in these games. When it's so close, those clean players.
So often overrun in the final term. Not tonight. The Bulldogs, having fallen behind, come again. Jamara kicks the goal. And the Bulldogs are 14 points clear. Deep into time on in this final term. The Dogs 10-11-71. Carlton 8-9-57. A 14-point lead for the Bulldogs, having trailed just 5 minutes ago. Brent Harvey, Luke Ball, Grandstand AFL.
So that was Wettering's direct opponent, but he had to press. There was no option. He had to press. It looked easy. If you're watching it on TV, you'll see how easy it looked, but he had to press. There was no choice.
And it was Ugelhagen who just did enough to affect the spoil, didn't he, coming back with the flight. It looked like McGovern was going to take the uncontested mark. Just did enough to bring the ball to ground. Crucial moments, just when it's these last quarters. And then the cavalry came, and Jones and Waitman, who's such a classy player as well, was able to lower his eyes and see Norton. That was a pretty clever kick in the end to Ugelhagen. Great response from the Dogs.
There's time if Carlton are good enough. No winner from the restart, and we'll do it all again.
So Richards is going to go behind the ball.
Pinnet English. Pinnet palms it down to Cripps. Slips the Daniel tackle, gets Brick to ball towards half forward. Dale can't trap it for the Dogs. It spills to Kennedy, whose hand passes to Chera from centre half forward. Chips it into the arc. It's picked off by Scott of the Dogs, who flares his kick out wide into the path of Bailey Smith, who can take off on the outer wing. He has a bounce, sends it to half forward. Norton is in front position against Wiedering. Well done, knocks it to ground. Spills to Young, who gives it to Sard from left half back. Kick is a good one, finds Walsh on centre wing.
Carlton with it all to
go,
do.
Sam. You got to go, son.
3 goals, 3 minutes.
28 gone, final turn. Bulldogs by 14 points. And Carlton back into slow play as some of their fans start to get up and head to the exits as the kick heads down the wing to Mackay. Gets a free kick. He pokes the pass to half forward for his partner in crime, Curnow. Hitting up and his arms chopped. Free kick for Charlie.
Well, the way he hit the last one, he can roll around and kick this.
Here he goes. The drop punt sails goalward. It is off target. And this is out to the right and behind. Bulldogs by 13 points, 28 gone, final turn.
Very hard for a defender now, isn't it? You can't chop arms, you can't hold, you can't do nothing. You're pinged for pretty much everything.
Dogs with the last 3 goals of the game is Dale from the kick-in. Chips it short to Daniel in the right back pocket.
So the Bulldogs just try to maintain possession now. They'll take 30 seconds off here. They'll get it again, take another 30 seconds off and nearly kill the game.
Daniel back to Dale into the defensive goal square. This time he hits up Bontempelli at left half back.
Great kick.
Has Williams alone on the wing. He spots him, heads in that direction. Newman comes late with a fist.
Very good, Newman.
Sends it over the line for a throw-in in front of the interchange gates. 13 points is the margin. The Western Bulldogs in front. 28 played final term on Grandstand AFL.
Incredible final quarter. What was a pretty dull first half with just 5 goals kicked up to half-time for the boundary throw-in. Liberatore, hurried kick out towards half-forward. Artie Jones sweating on Sard. Sard squeezes the kick out to Doherty. Hand pass to McGovern. Off the back flank, kicks to Curnow on a one-on-one. Liam Jones spoils. Bontempelli coming back to lend a hand. Knocks it away to Dale. Off the back flank for the Bulldogs. He pulls the trigger in the centre square. Hits up. Duray, hand pass to the runner, Johannesson. Off and running, has a bounce, goes deep to Artie Jones and also Jamara. Jamara leaping up, no mark. Falls down to Norton, who... Was there a free kick there? And Norton looked back at Jamara and said, what on earth happened there? As Norton took the advantage. He misses anyway. It's a behind for the Bulldogs. They lead it by 14 points, half-hour mark, final turn.
Young straight up and down the corridor hits Mackay from the kick-in. gives it to Walsh, who kicks up towards half forward. Newman marks. Fast transition from the Blues. He kicks to Kerno at full forward. It's off hands.
Oh, well done, Jones.
Jones scraps for it at ground level. Ball still alive. Kerno picks it up from the pocket to dribble it towards goal. Misses. A minor score margin back to 13 points. 10-12-72 to Carlton, 8-11-59. 30 points now played in final term.
Dogs coming out of the defensive 50 as Johannes puts it straight on the chest of Bailey Smith.
Just out of reach now, isn't it, for the Blues?
He's had 28 tonight, Bailey Smith, 9 clearances, 4 scoring involvements, big time goal in the final term. They needed someone to come through and finish it. He did just that on the run to get the Dogs the break in this final term. By hand, they work it up to halfway. There's Artie Jones, hand pass to lob, back to Bailey Smith. Keeps on running, kicks for Jamar in a one-on-one, dropping in front of him. Wiedering takes the intercept mark. A crowd of 42,756. Oh, there's an intercept here. As Gervais rain in the open goal and misses.
Run it in, Taylor.
Take the bounce.
He didn't know what to do.
He could have walked that in, Doc Gervais. Instead, he misses out to the left. It's a behind.
That was his last goal. He didn't know what to do.
Newman goes with a barrel from the kick in. Into the centre square. It's off hands. Silvani. I think that was a throw, holding the ball, in fact. So a free kick to the Dogs.
It's a good effort, this from the Dogs. They looked on a bit. They're certainly under the pump. Headed twice, but have really responded.
4 of the last 5 goals.
Mixture of youth and experience. This last 10 minutes.
Caleb Daniel with the free kick from inside the centre square. We'll just pump it long. They'll all jump at it. Norton tries the impossible. Jones out the back. Hand passes it off to Scott for icing on the cake. He's got 3. And the Dogs are out to a 20-point lead. They've kicked the last 4 of the game. 11-13-79 to Carlton, 8-11-59. 32 minutes now played in this final term on Grandstand AFL.
Liberatora has been huge. That's 13 clearances. The closest to him, Bailey Smith, had 9 for the Western Bulldogs. He's been absolutely huge. We said there was 3 or 4 goals there, ball in that last quarter, where the clearance, whoever won the clearance, kicked the goal. Libba, take a bow. Been fantastic tonight.
10 goals to 2 after half-time in Brisbane, so the Lions beat the Bombers by 42 points, so a 7-goal win for Brisbane.
3 goals to Scott. He's done his job, hasn't he?
He has.
Did well early, and then gets a bit of a reward late.
Missed that easy one for a left footer too. Probably should have had 4.
English and Pitternet back in the middle. Pitternet palms it down to Kennedy, who's tackled. So the Blues will be even on the ledger after 9 rounds, 4-4-1. Their biggest opponent next week, Collingwood, Sunday at the MCG. From the restart, Cripps got it out to Walsh at inside 50, late for the Blues. But it's the Dogs' night. They refuse to roll over. Headed twice. They come back to register a signature winning season 2023. The Bulldogs make it 4 on the bounce. They beat the Blues by 20. Sure, Carlton fans thought they could beat them on a couple of occasions as Walsh put them 4 points clear at the 15-minute mark, and then Kerno snatching the lead again for Carlton at the 21-minute mark. But the Bulldogs refused to roll over, having just kicked 1 goal up until that point. Since the 7-minute mark of the third term, they exploded time on in the last, something they've so rarely done in recent seasons. Force red time goals in the last term. 1 to Jones, Smith, Ugelhagen and Scott. And it's the Bulldogs who pulled away to win by 20. The Bulldogs have been averaging 16 points in their final quarters so far this year, which is the lowest in the competition. They come out to kick 5 goals, 3 in the final term, and having fallen behind on a couple of occasions, they kicked 33 points in the final quarter here tonight to sink Carlton by 20. There's a bit in that. The Bulldogs 11-13-79, Carlton 8-11-59. The Blues are 4-4-1, while for the Western Bulldogs, they're quietly 6-3, having lost their first 2 games by 50 plus. They've won 6 of their last 7 to look a real player in the season. Luke Paul and Brent Harvey on Grandstand AFL. We had to wait for it for 3 quarters, but gee, the game came to life in that final term.
Yeah, it was, and it was a pretty dull game, wasn't it? Carlton kicking 1 goal in the first half, and we're sort of thinking, where's this going to go? But to their credit, they came out. Not sure what Vossi said at half time, but they came out and they played a different style of football. They held their width a little bit more bally, and like I said, I didn't notice it so much in the first half, but when they started getting the ball on the outside and going to work, they looked like they were running harder. Walsh came into the game a little bit more with the ball on the outside. They had a period there where they kicked 6 in a row at the end of the third and started the fourth. They kicked 6 goals in a row, and they made the Bulldogs really, really work super hard to win that game. 31 points up the Bulldogs were. Probably shouldn't have let the Blues back in, so credit to Carlton coming back. But well done to the Western Bulldogs. Set the game up early for me. Didn't think they were going to run out the game like they did, but they certainly did. And I mentioned it late in the game there, Libba. I thought Libba was huge. 13 clearances. When the game gets tough, you know you've got to win the clearances, and he was the main man on the ground to do that. He'd come off. I was watching him on the bench, hands on his knees. He was absolutely exhausted, and so he should. So I thought he was nearly best man on the ground tonight, Libba.
Yeah, so small gains, I think, from the Blues, perhaps in that second half in terms of the way they've moved the ball. The challenge for them is they're having to wait till they find themselves behind and having to play such catch-up footy to throw a bit more caution to the wind and take a bit more risk.
It takes it out of you,
Takes a lot out of you. It does.
It takes it out of you.
That's right. It's not a sustainable way to play. Again, if you're looking for positives, again, you probably can't question their effort. Contested possessions plus 21 across the night. They tackled pretty hard. Their pressure was okay. It really is that phase of the game, which is the glaring weakness at the moment, and the work in progress for them. But having said all that, halfway through the quarter they were in front and with a head of steam. With Curnow kicked that goal, and if you had a couple of bucks, you probably would have put on the Blues at that stage. So you're right. Credit to the Dogs. And look, the Dogs' third quarter will be the one that they need to review pretty strongly. It really dried up for them in terms of the way they moved the footy and their connection between the backs, mids and forward zones, which really let them down. So they got some work to do there. But you said it, Corb, after what looked like a pretty ordinary start in those first 3 rounds, they're starting to get their game going pretty well and starting to defend a bit more. That was the real challenge for them last year, and then it looked like they hadn't really improved much at the start of the year, how they defended turnover in particular. They've moved the magnets a bit. I reckon the way they've struck stuff a bit better. We spoke about how they put Johannesson back behind the ball, Love Richards back behind the ball, just stiffen it up a bit. Liam Jones has been terrific, hasn't he? So
you mentioned Richards a bit tonight. It was fantastic.
I thought his first half was superb. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So to me, they look a bit more sound behind the ball, I think, and there's no coincidence that they're defending better as a team. And then, you mentioned those guys around the ball. With Treloar going out, who's been really good for them over the last month or so, it needed a little bit of stand up. It needed Bailey Smith, who played a lot more out-and-out midfield time today to play a good game. Because Bott was pretty quiet in that first half. I thought he got going a bit in the second half. But I thought Liberatore and Smith in particular were terrific across the 4 quarters and still running. You saw Smith still running at the end there. His running power is such a weapon. And in the end, that was probably it. And again, that experience combined with a bit of youth, I just loved Artie Jones's game. It was the pressure stuff in the first half.
That becomes perceived pressure as well, because people start going, where is he? And that's that little gather that you just don't take cleanly and it spills out. Bulldogs score a goal from it.
And then the message for him is you do that sort of work early. The rewards might come a bit later on in terms of goals and goal assists. And he and Waitman's, a couple of his touches late were the class that the Dogs needed in that last 5 minutes to kick those goals to ultimately go on and win the game. So, a really good performance from the Dogs with some room for improvement, clearly. And for the Blues, it's just it really is just that part of the game that they have to just keep working at and tinkering with and finding, from a personnel point of view, what's the best mix. At times always looked dangerous, didn't he? And Motlop did a bit, Durden did a bit. Is that the best mix, having all three of them down there? Not sure. Who's that third tall or third sort of medium-sized player that takes a bit of the pressure off? Curnow and Mackay were pretty well held tonight. Silvani, we know, has been tried. I mean, Jack Martin, where's he at? Another one on their list. They haven't quite been able to nail down the talent around their two big stars forward of the ball.
There's plenty in that for the Bulldogs. We'll start with them, and I'm sure we'll get to Carlton in due course as the Dogs start to make their way down to the rooms, and Andrew Mays will be there for us in a moment. So that's 6 of their last 7 now. They grind out a win here against Brisbane in a pretty ugly game. They beat Richmond just in the wet. Lost to Port Adelaide. Everyone thought, 2 and 3. Sure, they're not much to look at. Flush out wins against Fremantle, Hawthorn and GWS, so teams they should beat. Yep. It was the way they won tonight in particular, to be headed twice and then still come back, finish over the top. They kicked 4 goals time on in the last quarter, having trailed the game at the 22-minute mark of the last. They kicked the last 4 to win by 20. Andrew Mays is in the winners' rooms. Maysy.
Players have just wandered in, and young O'Donnell is absolutely soaked with all of the sports drink down here. He's a happy man. They're a happy crew. Bevo, a look of a man with a lot of relief on his face as he walked in tonight. Here's the Dog song. Pretty happy crew down here. We'll have Bailey Dale in a couple of minutes, gents.
Thanks, Maisie. Back to you in a moment. So they're top 3 in clearances in the competition. They win that category again tonight. And they're top 3 in defence. They were averaging 77 points per game leading in. They keep Carlton tonight to 59. So, clearly they've got a lot better in that area. And you don't have to know too much about footy to know that those two things go together, that if you're sort of winning more clearances and putting less pressure on the back half, it helps to limit your scoring.
It shows character by the Western Bulldogs for me. It shows character for both teams tonight because Carlton were so far out of it, 31 points, and weren't playing great football. For them to turn it around and get back in the game, actually lead. But then it also shows character for the Western Bulldogs to go, rightio, we're the better team tonight probably, but they've come at us, let's go again. And to kick 4 out of the last 5 goals, I actually didn't see it coming. Kicking six goals straight, the Blues, I didn't see, and it looked like they were hard to come by for the Western Bulldogs. They had Scott miss one in the pocket that he probably should have kicked, and you thought, that's probably their opportunity missed. But to their credit, they kept coming, and it was their leaders. It was Smith, it was Liberatore, it was Bontempelli, had a good last quarter.
They kicked 5 straight behinds at one stage in the game, so they went from 6 goals 6 to 6 goals 11, and it wasn't until sort of Liberatore was able to get that answering goal at the 19-minute mark of the final 10.
That was a big goal. That was a huge goal. 45 out, sort of, probably 20% of chance of kicking it, and went straight through the middle. That was a big turning point in the game for me.
Feels like a lot of people like the 3 up the top, so whether that's sort of Collingwood, Melbourne, Brisbane, any order, you can even extend that to Geelong, given how much you're willing to discount them from last night. But it feels like that next bracket in the 8 everyone's competing for, and the Dogs have thrust themselves into that conversation at 6 and 3. And now, obviously, the quality of opponent gets a little tougher. They play Adelaide next week, and we're still to play this weekend. Then games against Gold Coast, Geelong and Port Adelaide. So teams in and around their station, Bally, that are competing for that spot.
Find out a bit more, won't we, in the next month? I think is the next one at Ballarat next week? Yeah, okay. So let's
bring the long sleeves.
Bring the long sleeves. Yeah. That's right. So I think those areas that you mentioned, we know they're strong in. I think they've still got some work to do forward of the ball. We know that. Jones has been a terrific addition because that sort of key post, that second key post, maybe with Alex Keith, was a query for them last year, which hopefully they've addressed with Jones. Again, love the fact that they've put the runners back behind the ball in Richards and Joe Hannison. So they're starting to put it together a bit. The midfield's clearly their strength. They get Treloar back in there. Bontempelli, we know, Smith, Liberatore, McRae, and English, who I think's really, it's going to be interesting, isn't it? The All-Australian ruckman this year. I think right now he's the one. I think he's the one they've got to run down.
He was good tonight, not because
it's a good battle, wasn't it?
he placed himself in a position where Carlton couldn't do anything in the first half. He kept going down the line. They kept looking up, and English was there. Did he mark everything? No, he didn't. Did he impact everything? No, not really. But it was just his presence of being down the line where Carlton would look, and it would slow everything down. And then the Western Bulldogs would get back and support.
We're getting some live pictures of the Bulldogs rooms, which is why I can see Andrew Mays is ready to go down there for us. Maisie.
I'm here with Bailey Dale. Bailey, tell us about what your thought process was halfway through that last quarter where the Blues took the lead.
Yeah, obviously it was a bit of a scare there. We probably didn't play the way we wanted to finish that third quarter, and going into last we gave them a bit of a sniff, but to our credit we were able to turn it around, and yeah, it was a great win.
See a lot of tired footballers. I don't think I've seen one as gassed as Tom Liberatore was, coming off with about 6 or 7 minutes to go. It was actually just after he'd kicked his goal. How big is he for you in the middle, week to week, and the role that he does to allow guys like Bontempelli to flourish?
Yeah, he's just in and under every week, head over the ball, tough as nails, gut runs from contest to contest, and yeah, we probably missed him a little bit against Hawthorn. They sort of got on top in the midfield area, but to have him back over the last few weeks gives us that sort of grunt in the middle and lets guys around him flourish.
Luke Beveridge at three-quarter time was shuffling the magnets like I've never seen before. Did you change anything particular? Did it just take half the last quarter to click? What was his message at three-quarter time when the Blues started to push?
Yeah, I think they just got a couple more clearances, a bit cleaner than we would have liked. So we just wanted to tighten it around the stoppage and not let them get outside of us. And I think we finished it off really well.
Got time for a couple more gents upstairs.
Oh, Bailey, it's Luke Ball here. Well done tonight. I thought it was showed a lot of character to dig in there and go on and win the game. Just want to talk about just structurally and personnel-wise. We spoke throughout the night around Jason Johannesson and Ed Richards in particular in that first half. Thought he was terrific and love the fact we know that they were tried a bit forward of the ball in the last couple of years. But for mine, love the fact that they've been settled again back behind the ball, and you must love having them alongside you as well.
Yeah, it's been great having JJ back down there, and obviously Ed's playing a really critical role for us at the moment. With CD going up into the midfield, we probably needed a couple more runners down there, and to see JJ back where he's played some really good footy before, and he's starting to really play some really good footy again, it's great.
And Tim English, who we're just speaking about it up here in the broadcast box, he gets down the line, it gives you defenders extra time because the Carlton players were looking up and seeing the big presence of Tim English, and then they wouldn't kick the ball down the line. They would have to wait 2, 3, 4 seconds and give you guys a little bit more time to get down and help defend.
Yeah, he's a very unique player, Tim. He's pretty much an extra midfielder, and the way he reads the game and he gets behind and helps us, yeah, it's an absolute credit to him, the way he's developed over the last few years. But yeah, he's a great asset at the moment. He's in some really good form.
Love what Artie Jones is bringing to the team, Bailey. It's only his first sort of handful of games, but really starting to look at home out there, and not only what he does with the ball, and he was terrific late there in terms of kicking a goal and setting up a couple, but to me his game was set up by his defensive pressure, and to me he loves doing that as much as getting on the end of one and kicking a goal.
Yeah, he does. He brings that energy for us with Flea as well, Flea Waitman. They just go to work down there, bring the heat. They know they're only going to get a few opportunities a game, and they've got to cash in. And Artie really cashed in tonight. He had some really big moments in that last quarter, and yeah, it's great to see him starting to develop, and he's going to be a great player for us.
Bailey, it's Jess Webster here. Well done on the win tonight. Quite an even team performance. A few players had some big moments as well. If you were giving out the Brownlow votes tonight, who was the best player in your mind?
Oh, honestly, I've no idea. I was just trying to defend back there in the last quarter. Sometimes you get a bit lost in the game. You actually don't know who's played that well. So, but yeah, obviously Tim was a massive presence in the ruck and being able to get behind the ball. Thought Ed Richards was really good early as well, just intercepting all the time. So, yeah, maybe a couple of those guys.
It feels like the Dogs, Bailey, have sort of snuck up on the competition, that you lost your first 2 games by 50 plus. You've now won 6 of your last 7. What happened after that first fortnight? What was it like internally after heavy losses to start the year, and what you've been able to do since?
Yeah, it obviously wasn't the ideal start to the year that we wanted, but the way we've been able to turn it around, I think defensively we've been a lot better. We're still trying to find our feet offensively. We would like to kick some bigger scores, and we know that'll come, but if we can stick to our defence and be able to, not let teams score quickly against us, which we have in the past, but it was great to arm wrestle it back tonight and get a nice win.
We heard about the St Kilda team a couple of years ago when they had all those jacks in the lineup and they had to sort of give each other different nicknames. You're obviously in an environment where there's heaps of Baileys. You're obviously one of those. Does anyone actually get to be Bailey at the club?
Not really. Obviously, you got Baz, and then Bailey Williams is Truck, and I'm Digger for some reason. I think Bevo made up that, so I think it's just to change it up so we don't get confused.
Bailey, appreciate your time. Well done on the win tonight. It was superb to watch.
Beautiful. Thank you, guys.
Bailey Daly, the All-Australian from a year ago in the Dogs rooms with our own Andrew Mays. So the Bulldogs winners by 20 points. They trailed time on in the last quarter, having led by as many as 31 in the third quarter. They kicked the last 4 goals of the game to come again. So huge win for the Bulldogs to get home over Carlton by 20.
He did some really good defensive stuff tonight. There was one right in front of us where he made up, I reckon it was 20 to 25 metres, super quick, just got a hand in, ball goes out of bounds, gives the Western Bulldogs another chance to start again. Libba comes to work. 13 clearances, as we already mentioned.
The Brisbane Lions trailed at half-time. They kicked 10 goals to 2 thereafter to beat Essendon by 7 goals up at the Gabba. In the NRL tonight, 3 games. The South Sydney Rabbitohs shut out the West Tigers, so 20-0. The North Queensland Cowboys 42-22 over the Dragons, and it was the Canberra Raiders 26-18 over Parramatta. The votes in the ABC Footballer of the Year. Bawley.
Oh, that was quick hands. No, we've had a quick conference during that interview.
It felt like it was.
He's got it down pat.
It'll be nice and quick. Just trying to. Who do you think? Who was the best Carlton player for you?
Walsh was.
Yeah, I think he was probably
he probably
best
worked
across the.
He's kicked 3 goals.
Yeah.
I think he had an impact. He only had the 8 possessions, but 3 goals is big from a small forward in a tight sort of contest game.
It was a great effort from Wild. I mean, that's it. He's coming back from back surgery. He's pretty serious, so he just continues to get better and better. And in a month's time, the second half of the year, he'll be better again. But we couldn't squeeze a Blues player, and we've gone with one vote to Ed Richards. Just thought his first half. I thought he was the best player on the ground in the first half. His intercept marking and provided some real drive for the Bulldogs. And mentioned there by his teammate and Bailey Dale. 2 votes to Bailey Smith. Loved his game. We spoke about Treloar not being out there and them needing to share the load a bit and step in. And I thought he was brilliant and running so hard.
10 clearances
and just running so hard. Late in the game again. And 3, I think, to Tom Liberatore. Boom.
Yes.
I just think he's...
He was a
little bit biased, but love the hard stuff as well. But then was able to sense big moments. Kick the goal, had a big say in those other 2 goals in that last quarter, and just thought across the 4 quarters, his effort against a really tough, strong Carlton.
He was going up against Cripps too at most of the night. So
still an underrated player, isn't he? 200 game player. He's a star.
He is a star.
Absolutely
is.
It was another what might have been night for the Blues. They led twice in the final quarter, but it wasn't to be. The Bulldogs finishing over the top to kick the last 4 goals of the game. Bawley, always great to see you on a Saturday night. Cool. Same with Jess. Boomer, thanks for coming along, nursing your badly broken leg. Appreciate you coming along.
She's good now. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks to Andrew Mays downstairs, to Stu Birchmore as well, and to the cult figure Adam Jones back in the studio as well. That'll do us for this heavy Saturday of round 9. Of course, it is Mother's Day tomorrow, so an early shout out to all the mums out there. We'll have Grandstand AFL Sunday on the air tomorrow from 12 noon Eastern. Hope you can catch us then. The Bulldogs and the Lions winners tonight. Good evening.